Yo, what's up, guys? It's Killer B. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be co-casting some matches here with Ornlu. We're going to be on Escape. Please hang tight through any technical issues, but we're going to get this started. It's going to go straight to YouTube. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hello. I'm a very timid man. It's good to be here with you, and Ornlu is here as well, right? Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. Oh yeah, you know it.
What I'll do is tell you when we're switched in, and then I'll let you take it away.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1, play. And for everyone on the stream, we're going in.
Alrighty, guys, here we go. Escape Champions League qualifying round. We've got Suomi and we've got Aries A. This is Killer B. I'm joined by Ornlu. Hello, Mr. Ornlu.
Hello, Mr. Killer B.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be
casting with you again.
I was just about to say the same, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. Of course, Suomi meaning Finland in Finnish, as far as I know. On the left side of my overlay here, I'm looking at the max to start things off. Obviously, Zuppi, Valise, Northern Pike also on that team. Ornlu, do you know very much about the Finnish team? I guess that you probably do.
Definitely. They play quite frequently. Obviously, the Max has been making a lot of noise in the community for a while for his great pocket play. They did quite well in Battle of Africa, so expect them to be one of the favored teams to qualify for this event, I would say.
Yeah, I think they are a real buzzsaw of a team. I can't wait to see them play. I'm noticing the green player, by the way, is stealing a sheep. Northern Pike able to finagle one sheep out from under his opponent's TC. On the other side of the map, we'll have Aries A. Ornlu, did you get a chance to look at the Civ matchups here? What are your thoughts at first blush of the arrangement of these Civs?
Well, at first glance, I see an Indian's flank for Aries A, which is never really ideal. I think with these 4 specific civs, you really want to have the Indians player in the pocket and able to get that crazy boom on. And obviously not really able to do that as comfortably on the flank, whereas the Finns have the Max in the pocket with his trademark Cyan as the Indians.
Yeah, it can't be understated that the Max is a phenomenal pocket player. I mean, there's really no one better at going Paladins from the pocket when he can. In this case, of course, Indians will not be possible for him. I am watching the Max with just 2 Vils on wood to start the game off, so that could be something interesting to keep an eye on. For the Finnish side of things, let's start with Northern Pike in the green. We've got a Mongols flank on that side. As Ornlu mentioned, he will be up against an Indian player in the red. Lots of Xing and scout fighting going on, but so far I've just seen 1 sheep stolen out of that group. In the pocket on the side of Northern Pike will be Zuppi. Zuppi playing in the blue trunks will be a Hun's pocket. Interestingly, on the other team, the other pocket will be Hun. So it will be Hun's pocket on that edge of the map. Teal player, the Max, is the Indians pocket that you mentioned, and on the far flank will be Valise in the gray, playing as the Malians. So we've got the Civs locked in here. We've got everything going. It is the qualification stage. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the gravity of this game. Winner takes the qualification here, Ornlu.
Yeah, definitely. It's everything's on the line. It's a single elimination bracket, so the winner of this best of 5 goes straight to the ECL. Pretty much a year of guaranteed matches versus not. So obviously, pretty big match here.
Yeah, this one is not the only one of the set. I kind of misspoke there, but this is definitely a very important match for these 2 teams. 4v4, I expect the Finns to probably take care of business here, but I suppose we will find out as we continue to roll forward through the match. For now, we are approaching the, 16 villager stage for everybody. Lots of scout shenanigans going on, lots of people trying to steal resources and push deer, but ultimately I haven't seen too much go on as far as maybe villagers going down or super meaningful events. I think both teams are situated pretty nicely here, although lots of Xing going on the map.
Yeah, we do have Pike pushing some deer, which is always really nice to have as the Mongols. Obviously, with that faster hunting, you just get so much food in the Dark Age. You can go for some very quick scouts or just quick feudal age into archers. All that's good. And I just want to point out for anyone who might not know, Shuainu, the Red Indians player for Ares A, is also known as Yinghua, I believe. And Black Mamba is also known as Stray Dog. So those players have different handles that people might be more familiar with.
Yeah, and I think USR is Whoop, but this is a game of Smurfs. It gets really difficult. But very good point, Ornlu. Very good point. I'm seeing people starting to click up to the feudal age now. I've got Shuanyu clicking up at 713. Whoop will be right next to him. USR playing in the purple. Everybody else is grabbing loom and thinking about going up soon. Mongols Pocket in the purple is going up to feudal quickly. And this is kind of an accepted part of the meta now, right? You can't really get away with both of your pockets just booming to fast castle. So pocket scouts for purple seems like the order of the day. And that's going to make a lot of sense to me. Max is also on the way to feudal in the pocket on his side, so that Indians player is probably going to be able to build some scouts as well.
You know, we do say that pocket scouts is the meta, and that's very true, but it's, you don't really go for scouts unless with 3 villagers wandering out on the map for purple here. So he's going to be doing something aggro, something forward.
Ooh,
Looks like yellow might be doing something as forward as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing the red player as well coming forward with some vills, dropping down a barracks near the green base. We've also got, as you said, purple coming across the map with 3 vills, and so is yellow. It does seem like a good tactic for Ares, to be totally frank. I think the Finns being such a beast of a team in a 4v4, I think you got to get aggressive and try to throw them off their game. I don't think playing standard here and trying to win late game is as good of a chance to win for Ares. So I like this play. What do you think, Ornlu?
I definitely agree with you. I think that just, the nature of players, especially like Stray Dog, are known for their aggression. They're not really known for their, late game boomy sort of play. So I think that aggression, is going to be favoring these guys for that and the reasons you said.
Yeah, let's see if it works. We do see a forward scout, stable rather, coming down for purple. Purple player is going to go scouts, but he is also still roaming forward. Back at home, I don't see him taking any stones. So purple is going to have an old-fashioned forward, at least for the moment. The yellow player is going back for the moment with a couple of his villagers because his opponent, Valise, has a drush coming in, and the Max's scout is there as well. So the yellow player is on a little bit of the back foot. In the meantime, red has built a forward archery range and a couple of spears and skirms, and he's coming forward with towers. So lots of aggression from Ares. Go ahead.
Oh, this is the sort of Chinese classic, right? The forward archery range, barracks, skirmishers, spearmen, and towers, just getting very aggressive. And these sorts of openings tend to do really well versus, just straight into archers or straight into scouts, just because you have those counter units so nearby with the spearmen and skirmishers, and the towers just make your opponent's life miserable. So definitely going to be up to Pike here to hang on.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting to me looking at this game so far is that both of the pockets have come with towers. If you notice, orange has snuck to the right of the green base as well. So everybody on the Ares team is going absolutely ham with forward aggression and feudal. But interestingly, both the pocket and the flank seem to be focused on damaging the flanks. They have not even tried to bother yet the blue player Zuppy or the teal player the Max. So those two players are not going to be bothered directly. All of the pressure is on those two flanks, Valise and Northern Pike.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to go for like this committed of forward aggression, you might as well try to double team the flank. Try to, put them at such a disadvantage that it's essentially like a 4v2 at that point. If everyone just kind of focuses one opponent, the defender's advantage is going to be pretty huge since, of course, it's a 4v4. The map is gigantic. So I think that the double teaming on both sides is a good idea for the Ares A team.
It's also probably a very good idea that the Max and Zuppy both built scouts. Sometimes you can try to have one player fast castle or go quicker to castle. Those scouts could be the big difference in defending off this push. Like you said, it's a big map, so getting those units from the pocket to the flank can be a bit of a challenge. I'm watching the blue player now engaging in Northern Pike's base, and he is doing a pretty good job to slow the roll of Black Mamba on that side. Which is obviously very important. If Black Mamba gets a chance, like you said, to truly double down with his teammate, they're going to really hurt Northern Pike, maybe in a way that makes the Finns too far behind to come back. So nice to have those scouts roaming around the map.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel bad for Pike right now. It's like, you got the Trush from the left from Schweinu, and then you got the Trush from the right from Black Mamba. You're just really not having a good time. No real safe wood lines for Pike. He really, does need Soupy to come in, and he is coming in right now to bail him out, so to say.
Yeah, so far it's going pretty well. Zuppy in the blue coming over to at least slow this down a bit. But yeah, our player in orange, Black Mamba, has committed a lot of spears. He is still chasing those scouts around pretty nicely. As you said, Northern Pike's economy is going to be a mess. But it's very important here that the Finns identified what's going on early, which it seems that they did, so that they can have feudal armies and be ready for this. Max is on the way to Bloodlines, by the way. His scouts are roaming around inside of the purple base. Purple player USR, aka Whoop, he's pretty much walled up, so the Max for now not able to get in a whole lot of damage with his scouts. The action really seems to be on on both sides with the Trush.
Yeah. It's typical 4v4. It's like aggression is everywhere. There's so much to see on the map. Though, definitely worth pointing out that Velez has done at least a reasonable job of not dying. His villager count is okay. He hasn't lost too many units. Whereas Pike is really kind of... he's not doing so hot right now. He's down to 25 villagers. That's about 8 or 9 lower than most other players in the game, which is just absolutely massive at this point.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm still seeing Velez taking a lot of pressure, but as you said, he's done a great job to wall up and at least cut most of that pressure off of doing serious damage to his base. So for now, it's okay-ish for our player in the gray. However, Velez will need to win back some gold a little bit later on in the match. That tower from purple is pretty nice, zoning him off of a couple of his gold piles.
Yeah, I also see here at Yellow's base, Max swooping in, getting a couple villager kills, just trying to get as much, damage done in his opponent's base as possible. He knows that, okay, everybody on the other team is forward, so they can't really have a whole lot at home to defend themselves. So obviously just swooping in with these scouts, getting a couple villager kills onto Yellow, and I think a few on Purple earlier as well.
Yeah, that's very important. You got to punish the person who's coming forward to tower. If you don't, it just gives them a free chance to damage your teammate. For now, that's pretty good rating from the Max. There is a ton going on the left side of the map. This is a good game to have a co-caster as good as you, Ornlu, because there's so much going on. Pike's base is an absolute mess. I see villagers running out to take some stone in front of his base. It's kind of an exposed area, but he's got to do something. Pike, mostly with skirms and archers, has taken a lot of damage from towers in the back of his base. Lost a couple wood lines, lost his berry patch. It's been a really rough start for Pike, but he's still holding on by a thread. Max on the way to Castle Age, by the way. Maybe he can bail his teammate out in the Castle Age.
Yeah, I mean, this is very typical of Max, right? He wasn't too concerned about defending Velez. Velez was like, okay, you can just kind of hang on while I get to the Castle Age, while I can get up to those Indian camels and just get this massive economy rolling. So really, it's just going to be, can the Max hold on until the Castle Age? And I think he should. Walling behind the barracks and with the houses and the fast gates and stuff, he'll, I think, get to the Castle Age and get those camels out in plenty of time.
I just did a quick check around the horn. The only player who's really got a chance to get to the Castle Age at a decent moment is the player in red. Red player is very close to clicking. Everybody else on the Ares team is going to be a little bit slower, at least from what I can see. I've got red clicking up now to the Castle Age. So red will be up. He is interestingly up on that flank, and he's going to try to add in, well, for now, just a market and a bunch of towers. We're going to need to see a military from him, I think, very shortly.
Yeah, of course, the Indians can get up to the Castle Age fairly quickly. You have that, villager discount, which is just kind of quietly getting you a little bit more food than everyone else in the game, so you can kind of build that food bank that is necessary to get up to the Castle Age in a reasonable time. So I think that's why we see Schweinu, the first one on his team, up to Castle Age. Also, he didn't really make much of an army, so that helps.
Yeah, I did just spot he's got a couple archers roaming around here and there. He's actually got double ranges on the front, so he's going to continue to try to push Pike. As we said before, Pike has been hurt, but he is now out on stone and building some defensive towers, trying to stabilize the ship. I think that this is an interesting moment in this game. It's a pretty even match, Ornlu. Do you give the advantage to either side at this point?
I think that, although it might be very even like right now, I think as this game goes on, it's going to start looking really good for the Finnish team. We have the Max, who's also, I think, being slung by Velez. I thought I saw some of that tribute going down from... So yeah, the Max is going to be getting his economy up and rolling very quickly. He's already adding his third town center, getting these camels out, and the camels will just do absolute work against all of these scouts from USR.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2 players in the Castle Age very soon. It will be the Max, it will be Zuppy all the way up. We've got Black Mamba on the way up, but not terribly close. Black Mamba's adding in a stable now to go along with the stable that is walled in near Northern Pike's base. So we will see Castle Age play from Ares, but as you said, it will be a nice advantage for Finland to have 2 Castle Age players. Interestingly, the Max did already, he did go light cav here. So he's got a lot of light cav roaming around the map, and he can throw his weight around versus the player in purple who's just got scouts.
Yeah, I think the light cav upgrade is worth it once you have, like, 4 or 5, maybe 6 scouts. And they'll be useful at picking off any siege weapons or monks in the Castle Age. And it just, obviously the better combat stats mean that you can just better take those engagements versus large quantities of scouts or archers when you're just sort of getting your camel count up and running.
Absolutely, and the Max is doing a pretty good job to spread units out and take down towers. On the other side of the map, the blue player Zuppy is starting to get his knights out, and those knights are running unabated right now. There's really nothing to stop Bloodlines with +1/+1 knights, at least for the moment, near Northern Pike's base. So Pike is going to be in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, Pike, he's obviously been under so much pressure, but he, with access to the zone, is going to be able to hang on. And now that Zuppy's in the Castle Age, can bail out his teammate. Really sort of, end at least some of the aggression from the Ares A team, as we do see Zuppy clean up all of the forward villagers from Black Mamba.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big point. Getting those vills is always important here. So it seems like the Finns are stabilizing, but we do see Hoodlum on the way up to Castle Age, Whoop on the way up to Castle Age. If you're playing in the Ares shoes, what's the next move here to try to win this game? Do you keep pedal to the metal and try to drop maybe 2 or 3 stables for pocket players and try to be more aggressive? Or do you think that they're going to turtle up a little bit?
I think that in this sort of situation, you really do need to continue piling on the aggression. You can't really let the 2 flanks for the Finnish players stabilize. And you already know that both Zuppy and the Max are in such a better position than you economically that if you sort of try to play the same game as them, you're just going to be behind. And that's not a way to win a game.
Absolutely. Got to keep the pressure up. On the Finnish side of things, I'm looking around on the Max's map. I am seeing a 2nd and 3rd TC down. So the Max is going to have some villagers to go along with his defensive play. 3 TCs as well for our player in blue. I just wanted to give you guys a quick assessment of how many town centers there are down. As far as I know, on the Ares side, it's mostly 1 TC play. Red player does have 2, but the Finns are booming a bit more at this point with a few more town centers.
Yeah, we do have Schweinu up in the base of Northern Pike right now, and he's currently being surrounded by the Knights of Zuppy. So definitely well on his way to losing these crossbowmen. Black Mamba's trying to come in to support his teammate. Upgrades are going to be slightly in favor of Zuppy, though, and of course the production is a lot closer for the Finnish players, so it looks like this army is going to be mopped up eventually.
Yeah, Whoop is going light cav here and chain barding, but those units were just being chased by camels from the Max. So purple player's army number is dropping, and the quality of that army is not quite so high. So a little bit hard for purple to make an impact, especially since the Max is doing a run-through inside of the purple base right now, trying to do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, he's already killed a lot of purple's villagers. Purple's down to 35 villagers at the almost 29-minute mark in the game, and that is just not at all acceptable for your Mongol pocket. I mean, this is the player that you really need to have a strong economy going into the late game to get those Mangudai up and rolling, but right now, USR's economy is looking a lot more like, Pikes than it is the Maxes.
Yeah, and the Finns here, they are doing a nice job to absorb this aggression. Pike has taken a ton of damage, but really towering up, continuing to just hold the line, hold steady, not die. That's really what's most important here for Pike. It always stinks to play in this position, to be the guy who's getting beat up 2v1, but Pike is stabilizing a bit. Zuppy's still roaming around with those knights. Zuppy now with +2 defense, which will help out a lot versus those archers or crossbows from the red player. So the Finns are stabilizing. They're starting to put something together. Booms are starting to turn around with about 70 villagers for the Max and Zuppy. On the other side of things, it's just the red player Schweinu who's close to that number.
Yeah, we do have, Schweinu here really trying to get his economy up and rolling. He's the only person who's really even that close to the 2 pockets of the Finnish team in terms of economy. But the problem for him right now is he just has some crossbowmen wandering around, and they're not even that well upgraded. They do have thumb ring and ballistics, but still missing the +2 armor, and these knights can still very easily mop them up for Zupi. So we do have Black Mamba coming in here as well to harass Zupi's 3rd TC. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good timing harassing that town center, denying it at least for the moment. Zupi's going to get a bunch of knights out. He will eventually push this back, but it's been a very nice little bit of raiding to slow down that player in blue. Max has not been slowed down at all economically, and the Max in the teal has transitioned into some pretty beefy camels, and I am now watching the Max clicking up to imp. I'm at 3150. Max is going to have a big impact. He's going to have a major tech advantage, and of course, Indians are easy to boom with, already near the 90 villager mark. We talked about the Max in the pocket using cavalry to his advantage, and that is going to be the story of the end of this game. I've got a lot of faith in the Max in pulling this off. I think his team is going to be great here.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is what the Max does, right? He's on 4 TCs, he's the booming civ, he's in the pocket, he's got the, not the Paladin civ this time, but, you know, the Imperial Camels will do just fine. And I suspect there could be some steamrolling happening pretty soon, because not only does the Max have the largest army in the game, but it's the largest army of, you know, pretty much fully upgraded camels for the Castle Age, which is pretty much the highest unit quality of any unit in the game right now, along with those knights, of course. But I mean, when you have the camels outnumbering the archers, that's when things start looking pretty grim if you're the Ares A team.
Yeah, we are seeing continued pressure from Ares in 2 places. First place is inside of the blue base. We've got crossbows up on top of the hill trying to damage Zupi. We've also got knights there as well from the player Black Mamba. Those 2 players are trying to push together versus Zupi, but I do see Max coming in from behind that group, so that is not going to go well at all. That pressure has been basically cut off at the root. On the other side of things, I'm seeing pressure from the yellow player inside of the gray base. He's got his teammate Whoop with him in the purple, and they're making a push directly into Valise's main town center. Valise is going to sustain some damage here.
Sustain some damage is correct. I mean, he's got 3 battering rams knocking away at his feudal age town center, not even able to click up to the castle age yet, and you know, Valese is going to be just in such a rough position. The Max going for such a greedy boom, not really focusing, say, any mangonels or anything to help out his flank. That's going to force Valese to do a bit of migrating. But, you know, on the other hand, you do have the Imperial Age now in for the Max, instantly getting plate barding armor and heavy camel. And once those upgrades come in, I really think he'll start being able to 1v2 this northern flank.
Yeah, the Max is all the way, he's all the way in now, sending his camels toward his teammate Valese to try to hold the Gray player up. Gray player's taking a ton of damage, is hiding in towers, down to 45-ish villagers, trying to wall himself in as best he can, but he just needs his teammates' camels. As you said, those camels with plate barding armor and heavy camel upgrade will absolutely mop the floor with these armies. But a very well-timed attack from Ares. Ares showed up at the right moment, Ornlu.
Yeah, definitely. Prevented Valese from clicking up to the Castle Age, and I mean, he's essentially going to be a non-factor in this game for the next, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. So it's really going to be down to, okay, can USR and Hoodlum hold on to the Imperial Age blood of camels from the Max? And that's going to be pretty tricky. I think they really should start pulling back at this point to hit the defender's advantage.
It's a very interesting looking set of scores. You have the Max in the Imperial Age, Zupi in Castle, Valise in Feudal, Pike in Feudal. It's a very weird game. On the Ares side, I've got everyone in Castle, but I've got Xuan Yu on the way up to Imp as well. As you said, Max's camels are starting to spread over the map. They're starting to push everything back. First winning back Valise's base, pushing back the Mongols' camels from USR, and then inside of the purple base, we've got a couple camels, which are really not going to be stopped there by Red. As you said, the Red player is all in on the front, so he's got nothing to defend himself at home with.
Yeah, and as I was mentioning earlier, you really do want to have your Mongols player in a good spot going into the post-Imperial Age, like especially with these Civ settings. I mean, you don't have the Indian pocket, so you don't have this sort of ability to go for the Imperial camels as easily. And Hun pocket, in AOC, it was fantastic. It's still good in Wololo Kingdoms, but, I mean, the Huns don't have an answer to Imperial camels, right? So, without Mangudai, it's going to be, I think, really hard for the Ares A team to hold on.
Yeah, the Finns are starting to do some Xing and get some markets going. I do see Valise sending a little bit of sling over to the Max, so the Max's camels are going to continue to come out at a pretty hefty clip. We do see those teal camels doing some nice raiding. I also saw Zupi in the blue doing a little flyby into Xuan Yu's base. He did grab a couple vills, but ultimately not a whole lot of damage as the red player just got the heavy camel upgrade and plate barding armor. So not a very good fight there for Zupi, and he's going to get out.
Yeah, it's we do see a massive camel transition here for Shuainu. Obviously, he went for the crossbows in the Castle Age, but now that he's in the Imperial Age, the Indians want to be getting up to those Imperial camels, and he really does have the economy to do so. He's at 107 villagers, and I think really is the only sort of player who's at a competitive level in terms of economy size this game with the Max and Zupi right now.
Yeah, and I'm watching Black Mamba in the middle of the map in the orange. He's running through with a bunch of knights, just ran right under Zuppy's castle, and now a couple of converts come in. Zuppy's in full chase of that orange army, and that's kind of a big deal because Black Mamba's on the way to Imp. He certainly wants to keep those knights alive to be able to upgrade them a bit more. He's going to dive them in and do some damage, but they really are not a factor yet. They're being chased by a plenty big group from Zupi.
Yeah, and although Black Mamba is definitely going to want to have plenty of knights to upgrade to Cavalier and then Paladin once he hits Imp, he needs to not die right now. And, you know, when that fight started, Black Mamba had about half of the military size of Zupi, and he still does. Zupi even having the better upgrades as well. I think if he didn't go for this counterattack, he would just have a bunch of Cavaliers in his base and be dead. So I think that was actually the correct decision, as, you know, non-effective as that rating was.
Wow, and I can see the purple player's base. Man, we've got blue Cavaliers from Zuppy diving in on a purple TC. Zuppy somehow did not get that town center down. It looked like it was hanging on by a thread, maybe 100 or 200 HP. But the purple player keeps his TC up, and Zuppy loses the Cavalier. Imperial Camel is in for the red player. Iron Casting is coming, so he does still need a couple upgrades. The Max is also Imperial Camel. The Max does seem to have the upgrades now, and the Max is probably going to do pretty well here versus his opponent in red, adding in more stables in the middle of the map. The Max is ready to make a push, and again, it's very notable in a team game when trade gets started. The Finns are starting trade, and they do have a decent bit of map control on the other side of things. The Ares team is getting the markets up, but the map control is going to be tough. The Max looks like he's going to try to drive a stake in between the two sides of this team for Ares.
Yeah, and you know, I say all the time when I cast, around the 40-minute mark in a team game is when you want to start thinking about trade. We already have trade well underway for this Finnish team. Lots and lots of markets down at the east and south corners of the map. We're starting to see it get established for the Ares A team, but not as much, and I think less capacity to get trade going pretty quickly. And as you were saying, it's going to be real easy for the Max just to run right into the middle of the trade line with some Imperial Camels and kill a lot of trade cards.
Yeah, let's see how this shapes up. It's also noteworthy that Northern Pike is on the way to Castle Age, and Valise has gotten to the Castle Age. So we do have the Finns starting to get their act together on those two flanks, which were doubled up on. And as you said, the Max has been, well, he's been the Max. He's spreading cavalry everywhere, creating chaos, bolstering his sides. This is pretty expected from him after what was a pretty greedy boom up, but seems to be the right play for Finland as they stabilize. I think the big move for Ares right now is to, well, drop some castles. I'm seeing the red player dropping more castles right on top of Pike's base. Pike did get to the Castle Age, but continued pressure will come in there from Black Mamba with a bunch of Cavalier as well. So they seem really intent on killing that flank. Meanwhile, the pockets are mostly unbothered for the Finnish team.
Yeah, we do have some Imperial Camels in the trade line of the Ares A team, even killing a few villagers of Black Mamba as well. And I would like to point out here that the Max has done a really good job of buying time for Valese. You know, Valese, he's on 53 villagers right now. He's not going to be doing a whole lot anytime soon, but he's pretty safe. He's on 3 TCs, he's going to be getting a castle up pretty soon, and he's not really going to be sustaining any more damage. So I think it's going to be down to this southern side for the Ares A team to really just knock Pike out of this game, because eventually Valese is going to get back. And once that happens, it might just be too much for the Ares A team to deal with.
Yeah, I think Ares' moment to try to make something happen is now, and I think they are trying to stay aggressive, diving in toward the trade lines of the Finns with a bunch of those orange Cavalier from Black Mamba, but he continues to be basically on the run because there are a lot of Imperial Camels around on the map. We've also got the red player who just dove in, who got mostly cleaned up as well. Interesting note, Zuppy, as the Huns, is transitioning to Heavy Cav Archer at this point in the game to try to get a little more diversity onto the map.
Yeah, I think he was realizing, okay, I don't really want to be just running paladins into Imperial Camels. That doesn't really seem like a winning play. So the Cav Archers are going to fare a bit better. At least they can sort of hit and run against the Imperial Camels, whereas the paladins actually just have to face them head on and then die. So I do like that sort of switch up for Zupi. And we may even see Black Mamba do this eventually as well, but instead choosing to go for the Halberdier route to deal with the Camels in the short run.
Yeah, it's also interesting looking at the stat lines. I still see Valise with zero military and Northern Pike with 0 military. Obviously, they are still recovering from early pressure, but it's always funny to see those zeros as players are so deep into the game here at 48 minutes.
Oh yeah, and we still have 4 players in the game and not to the Imperial Age at almost, you know, the 48 minute 10-second mark, and that's definitely out of the ordinary, and it's really just down to those Imperial Age players to sort of gain a massive advantage at this point, which I think the Max and Zupi have done a great job with.
Yeah, so far the trade is starting to roll for the Finns. Ares does have a couple trade cards out as well. We are seeing the blue player coming toward the center of the map near the Max's center castle. But Ares is there in pretty good force, so they might be able to push this back. Probably not, actually. I'm seeing Blue Cavalier soaking up a lot of damage. The Max coming in from behind. We need those Halbs from Black Mamba, and we need them as soon as possible. But for now, the Max's little foothold near his opponent's area is still alive, with more castles coming in the center of the map.
Yeah, definitely. And so long as those HCA are not engaging the Halberdiers or the Imperial Camels, they're just going to be doing a ton of damage in the backline. And, you know, the reason you generally don't see Halberdiers too often, and skirmishers either in team games, is 1, they're not very population efficient, and 2, they're very slow, especially if you're, you know, in the pocket, as is Black Mamba here. It's going to be really hard for those Halberdiers to catch up to the mounted units of the Finnish team.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. Especially now that trade has started, these guys should be focusing on getting those population-efficient units out, like you mentioned. I am seeing 1 military on the map, actually 2 military on the map now for Northern Pike, so look out, Ornlu. He's coming.
Champ. Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about the pockets for the Finnish team buying time for Valese and Pike to get back into this game. I don't think they'll actually be able to close out this game 1v2, or 2v4 rather, but what they can do is they can just keep the Ares team on the back foot and just buy time for their flanks to get back in the game. We have Valese at almost 100 villagers now, so you know, he's going to be getting back into the game pretty soon, as both Pike and Hoodlum are on the way to the Imperial Age now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you will be getting back into the game soon, and I don't know if the Finns have bought him enough time. I think we've both been on board with Finland doing a pretty good job so far, but if you count up the villagers, it's about 400 plus for the Ares team, and it's a little bit below 400 for the Finns. So there is a little bit of a villager discrepancy in favor of Ares. Pike is still, as you said, a really a non-factor. On the way to Imp, but 46 villagers or so for him. So a little bit of a tough play. Finns continue to be patient. They continue to clean up raids in their trade line. But the Max's foothold that was there on the front with a castle and a bunch of stables is gone. And there is a tiny bit of momentum for Ares in a couple spots of the map.
Yeah, definitely, and I really have to hand it to Schweinu this game. He's done such a good job of just continuously pressuring Northern Pike and just preventing him from, you know, getting up to a reasonable villager count. And with all of these forward castles just slowly grinding his way through Pike's base, I mean, it's really, I think, what's keeping the Ares A team in the game, because you just compare Pike to Valese. I mean, Pike is less than half the villagers of his other flank counterpart.
Absolutely. Not where you want to be. The Finns here probably stabilizing the position pretty well, but this game is still anybody's to win in my opinion. Imperial Age is coming for Hoodlum now, so we will see Imperial Age almost across the board for the Ares team. Valise is on the way to... No, Valise is in the Castle Age still. I'm watching some Trebs go to work in the middle of the map on another castle here from Zupi. That central area was controlled nicely by the Finns for a while, but now they are starting to roll back a little bit, building more castles nearer to their side of the map. Trade continues to get going for the Finns. They continue to have a very nice trade cart advantage number. And I guess I'll throw it to you, Ornlu, while I look around the horn at who's got what for gold in the bank. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's, we see Pike starting to get these elite Mangudai up and rolling, still missing a few upgrades, but he'll get there fairly soon. I think the Finns may have overextended themselves a little bit with Zupi and the Max going all the way to their opponent's side of the map when they're in a 2v4 situation effectively. So I think that might have been a little bit of an overextension, but now that they're falling back, we're starting to see a ton of heavy cav archers for Zupi, as well as, the elite Mangudai train starting to get rolling here for Pike. He does have 3 castles, and you compare that to USR, and he's just in. Pike is actually slightly further ahead in the Mangudai upgrades compared to his Mongol counterpart, which is crazy to say considering he's at 43 villagers.
I'm also watching the Finns starting to stonewall up the key entry points to their trade routes. So pretty good tactical play from them to keep the trade safe. Of course, trade rating extremely important in a team game like this. And for now, Ares has yet to really get into the trade, at least not recently, with any significant damage.
Yeah, and as you were mentioning earlier, the trade cart count is massively in favor of the Finnish team, with the Max chilling at around 43, Zupi Blessed in the 30s, Pike at only around 20. But like, you compare that to the Ares team, where Schweinu is the only person who's north of 20 trade carts, and that's starting to look pretty bad for Ares as this game goes on.
Yeah, and if you take a quick look around at all of the resources, it's pretty glaringly obvious that the Ares team is not doing so great when it comes to gold. USR has, I think, the most on that team at 1K, but everyone else is in the couple hundred gold type of level. Of course, you want to be spending your resources, so it doesn't always mean you should be banking gold. But there's a lot more gold in the bank for Finland now, and they should be able to have the higher quality units here, at least for the next 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, and you see the Max doing such a good job of just getting into just small areas of the Ares economy, killing some villagers here, killing some trade carts there, and just really preventing them to get to those sort of late-game death balls that you really want to see in team games.
Yeah, let's see if Pike can get back up on his feet and get things rolling again. For now, the green player is on 51 vills with 40 military, so certainly still hurting. As you said, starting to get those elite Mangudai out. Extremely important late-game unit. I mean, you've got camels from the Max. Those camels, they need some range units behind them to get really good trades. You've also got range from Zupi, and of course, we do see good damage coming in the center of the map.
Yeah, definitely, and something I think that's really lacking right now for the Ares team is ranged units. I mean, USR is your sort of designated ranged unit player, but he only has 20 military, and he's still not quite there in terms of the elite Mangudai upgrades, whereas Pike is, and you also have Zupi with the cav archers, so their engagements are probably going to be looking a lot better as they just have those that range potential in the doing tons of damage from the backline.
Yeah, I agree. This game, by the way, absolute chaos. There's just so much going on. I think Ares, their game plan was, let's try to sow the seeds of chaos and see if we can get Finland off their game. So far, maybe it's working, maybe it's not, but a really great effort here from Ares. They still have some momentum on a couple parts of the map. I mean, if you just look at the colors on the map, we've got red rolling toward the green base. We've got the yellow player rolling through the gray base. So they've taken over a lot of the flanks of the map.
Yeah, we actually have a Halberdier transition coming in for Zupi, and I actually think this is one of those situations where this is the correct decision. Really, what you want if you're the Finnish team is just some sort of meat shield for the elite Mangudai, because the elite Mangudai are just going to deal so much damage to these camels in the backline. They just need to not have the camels jump on them. So this is, I think, actually in one of those weird positions where you do want Halberdier, just seeing these civ comps and what these armies are looking like. And interestingly, we have Schweinu coming in here with all of his Imperial camels, but there could be some pretty nice engagements for the Finns if they work their way in between the buildings.
Yeah, this seems like a really bad engagement for Red. He's standing out in front of Zupi's base in the blue. He's been standing there for a while, taking huge damage from Heavy Cav Archer and from Mangudai. Did put down some damage with those camels, but like you said, the Finns are fighting in these really narrow gaps, and that gives them a low surface area, meaning that melee units can't really surround your units, and there was a lot of dead camels on the battlefield after that fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's, again, it's the problem of not having a ranged unit in your army in the late game. You're just gonna kind of run into these problems where the ranged units are so good defensively, just getting into those, nooks and crannies, and without, powerful range siege or just ranged units in general, you're not going to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, it is a really difficult time right now. I am seeing a couple more Mangudai coming out from the purple player Whoop, but as you said, those Mangudai, they're a little bit too far. They're a little bit too few, it feels like, for now. Northern Pike, though, is starting to get something going. We've got 68 military now for the player in green, so he's got an army on the map, though I can't find it. Yeah, there they are. A bunch of elite Mangudai coming. So Pike is getting on his feet, and it's going to be a true 4-player participation from the Finns.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, this has bought time for the 2 Finnish flanks to get back into this game. And now that they essentially are back in this game, we have the Farimba upgrade coming in for Velez, and he's going to be producing quite a lot of heavy camels here very soon. And I think that the Finns have just done a good enough job of keeping all of the Ares players on the back foot while their flanks boomed up, got back to those healthy villager counts, and got to those deadly post-Imperial armies.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I'm seeing a lot of trade going through the Finnish side of the map. Just quick count up of the trade. It's about 200 carts for the Finns. On the other side, we've got less than 50, I believe, for the Ares team. So still a lot of trouble for Ares with gold in the late game.
Yeah, having 1/4 the gold of your opponent is generally not a winning strategy in late-game team games, I hear. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty rough for Ares at this point, I think. We really see the Finns starting to push back on this north side for the first time in what feels like ages. And now it's really just all down to the south side of Shuainu hanging on to the aggression of the Mangudai plus the mixed HUD army.
Yeah, absolutely. Just hanging on is absolutely the key there. I am seeing, by the way, Velez adding in those Malians heavy camels. He's going to have his teammate Pike beside him. So we will have heavy camel from the gray player. We've got Mangudai from green. We've got a lot of cav archers from blue. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is we've got a melee unit and an archer unit to go with each army here for the Finns. And now the Finns are closing in on the bottom left of the map. We've got the red player with his purple teammate. They are trying to hold the line, but there's a lot of Halbs coming down toward that position. They're kind of caught in this little downhill gap. The Finns might try to crush them there, but it actually looks like the Finns will retreat for the moment and mass up a few more units.
Yeah, I think Northern Pike will need to join this party because this is a lot of Imperial Camel and Elite Mangudai here for the Ares team. But I'm not liking this whole going very deep into the Finnish base. They're going to try and break through to the trade line, but really they're just cornering themselves right now. And this could be a bit of a crunch right here.
Yeah, this is an extreme risk. I think that they're feeling the pinch of this late game and they're trying to get something aggressive going, but boy, this is a tough spot, Ornlu. This is a really, really big investment. Those Imperial Camels do get inside the economy. There's a couple of Rams and a couple of Mangudai to go along with them. And maybe they can get in some damage, but the Finns here are doing what the Finns do. This is a characteristic of their team. They're extremely good at playing defensively, biding their time, waiting, coordinating attacks. They're going to swoop in on this, and they expect to only swoop in when it's time. There's going to be no reinforcements into this area, so wait for the right fight and probably clean this whole army.
Yeah, I mean, you just see Zupi here just trying to buy time, throwing down layer and layer of wall just to buy just a few more moments for the Finns to just get to that army size that they need to destroy this army of the Ares team. And then you have that on the north side as well. You have Velez just running in with a ton of heavy camels. And this could be a very dead trade line very soon for the Ares team. But, of course, that would require them having a trade line to begin with, which they don't really have.
Well, that's the tactical decision, right? Don't build trade, then you can't get raided, right?
Exactly.
I'm watching now. The Finns are coming into that bottom left corner to corner the Ares team, and that is a very small spot. Ares does get a little bit of a hill. They'll get some hill bonus, but the numbers bonus is going to absolutely weigh heavily on this fight. The Max's Imperial Camels are mostly getting soaked up, but the Halbs are getting closer to the damage. There's just too few Mangudai here from purple, and that fight from Ares, probably not worth it, Ornlu. I mean, they got a bunch of trade carts and they gave it a go, but losing two really large armies there.
Yeah, I think they just didn't really get the damage done that they needed to, just like you were saying, Killer B. You still see north of 30 trade carts for every single player on the Finnish team. And when you're converting that many units to go deal damage to your opponent's trade line, that's not worth it.
Yeah, the Finns here got kind of what they wanted, a really big aggressive move from Ares. coming in. Not enough damage comes in. And frankly, as you can see, the GG now rolling in. Well-deserved from the Finns. My last thoughts on this one, Ornlu, are that this is super characteristic of how the Finns beat people. They are just so good defensively, counterattacking, trapping your armies. They're extremely patient as a team. Saw a bunch of GGs come in, but players still haven't resigned. But what's your final thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I really like that analysis. Their Finns are a very defensive team, and it's really, they just did what they did best. They played defensively. Zupi and the Max got up to huge economies and huge armies. Pike and Velez did, a good enough job of just hanging on until the Imperial Age, steamroll could happen, and that sort of allowed the Finns just to keep Ares on the back foot, and not really give them a clean transition into the Imperial Age, and obviously that's what got them the win.
Yeah, really exciting game there. It was a tough one for the first one of the day. So much going on all flanks at all times. Ares really put a lot of heat on the Finnish team, but the Finns will survive that match. They'll win the 4v4 section. And I'll just pop into the achievements real quick if you want to take a look at those with me, Ornlu. Not a ton to say about this, but it is interesting looking at the eco stats for somebody like Pike, who took so much damage early on in Velez, but ultimately, it's the military stats for the Max. The Max's kill death, which really jumps out as well.
That kill death is a thing of beauty right there. And even looking at Pike's kill death, remember, this is the guy who was down to like 25 villagers and everyone else was in like 60. And he managed to get like about a 2-to-1 KD, which is pretty impressive. I mean, yes, it's Magnudai, but still.
Yeah, very nice match there. Very good one. I think if you're ready, I'm ready to jump out of this, and we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, great. Let's do that. Maybe we can bring Zach back in to coordinate everything. But very, very good first game.
Yeah, it was a real treat to watch. A very dynamic 4v4. A lot of players at very different points in their build up as the game went on. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I like that game as well. Thanks for the cast, guys. And with that, of course, Suomi will take 3 points from the first one. And just to remind everyone, it's the first to reach 6 points here will qualify. Suomi with a strong start. They're halfway there. But next up, we have the 1v1 matches, which are only worth 1 point each. That'll be Fortress and Baltic next. I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was nice. Ares A came forward with a lot of aggression in the feudal age, lots of towers from the pockets. They all went forward. And I think Ares recognized that they can't let the Finns sort of free boom. They can't let them just build up without any pressure, because then they know they're probably going to be at a disadvantage. So they tried to go all in, and it kind of worked, I guess. Also, just real quick to address the flags. The main event, by the way, is not going to be using country flags, because every team will have a logo. For now, we're using square flags because the scoreboard is designed for square logos until we get to the main event, when they will be replaced. So it's just a temporary thing. That's all going to be fixed and updated for the main stage. But obviously right now, we're going to be getting into the second game, which should be Fortress, guys, if you're loading that up.
I'm in and ready whenever you guys are.
All right.
I'm here as well, whenever you guys are ready. It should be a great next match. Just got to keep in mind, I guess, the score, which is now 3-0 for Suomi.
That's right, and Fortress will be worth 1 point to the winner as well. I'm just loading up the game, and our counter's down. Okay, if you're ready, guys, in 3, 2, 1, take it away.
All right, guys, it is game number 2 of the Suomi versus Ares A series. You are not... Don't adjust your set. It is 3-0. That first match was worth 3 points. This match will be on Regicide, and it will be worth 1 point between Zuppy and Hoodlum. I'm Killer B, and I am joined by the man himself, Ornlu. Good to have you with me, dude.
It's good to be here, man. That was a really entertaining first game, and we'll have to see how the 1v1s pan out. I think that maybe the Ares team might have a bit of a better chance in the 1v1s, as the Finns are obviously known for their great teamwork. So maybe they might be able to snag a win in these situations where there is no teamwork.
Yeah, maybe so. And we'll start this game off on Regicide. I'll just point out to people that you get some farms. You're going to get to Castle Age pretty quickly because you start with extra vills. Both players have Goths. You know, get all of that out of the way to start things. What's interesting to me is that Hoodlum is the player chosen. Hoodlum is also known as Stray Dog, right? This is Stray Dog.
No, that would be Black Mamba.
Okay, I got it backwards. I was getting confused because I was thinking, why would you have Stray Dog play on a map that's so closed? Okay, my apologies for that. No need to dwell. You guys will see kings scouting around the map. You will see players luring in boars with their scout because it is, frankly, not worth your villagers' time to go out there. You can keep that scout going and grabbing the boar while your king reveals a bunch of map on this one. Ornlu, do you have a lot of experience with Regicide?
Mostly in the FFA form myself, but you know, back in the day, there was a lot of Mayans Regicide Fortress played, and I watched probably more of that than I should have. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting map. I think it's somewhat similar to Arena, obviously, in that you have the closed-off map with your walls and stuff, but without really as much wood. There's a lot more potential in the late game for raiding compared to Arena because it's a lot more open. And of course, because you start with that castle, it's going to be a lot more unique unit centric than say in Arena.
Yeah, it's a very good point. This is a great map. I don't know why we don't see more of this being played because it's really a treat to watch a match on Regicide.
Because after you watch years and years of Mayans Regicide Fortress Wars, you get a little tired of it.
It's like that song on the radio you've heard so many times that you no longer love it, I guess.
Yeah, just like the Plumed Archer, I guess.
But, Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that, of course, this is a Goth War, and Goth War, I think, is going to be pretty interesting on Regicide Fortress because obviously you have the Huskarl, which is a very powerful unique unit, but not really against infantry. So you kind of see the Huskarls in the early Castle Age to help secure map control and help get your economy up and rolling. But then generally you see a switch into just mass champions in the Imperial Age, and you sort of get the hand cannons to counter that, and then the Huskarls come back, and it's kind of this interesting triangle.
Yeah, I think it will be a very interesting match to watch 1v1. As you said, we've all seen Mayans on Regicide a million times, or many of us have. It will be good as a change to see a Goth War here. Notably, both guys clicking up right around the 4-minute 40-second mark with 21 fills. Players should be getting their boom going. You will eventually see players sending often a villager out to mine some stone long distance. You don't need to build a mining camp on the stone. You just need to gather some stone for the later part of the game. So maybe about 5 minutes from now, you'll see players grabbing some stone to get their 3 TCs worth of stone that they need. But for now, these guys are just booming up, and it looks like they'll be in a good position to probably fast castle very, very smoothly here in just a moment.
Yep. Of course, in case you guys did not know, you do start with a different resource distribution on Regicide. You start with no gold and 150 stone and a bit more food and wood. I forget the exact numbers. So that's why you have these villagers just kind of running out to the stone without a mining camp, just so you can get that extra 50 stone so you can throw down the extra TCs.
Also worth noting, kings are still roaming around, especially for the blue players uppy, or Zoopy, I guess we can call him, because we'll pronounce it the same way. He's running around, the map still scouting. For now, he's still safe doing that, because the king is a little quicker than the scout. But Hoodlum, you know, in theory, could trap or kill that king. This game is obviously all about the king. All you got to do is get that king down, and the game is over. So we've seen crazy scenarios where people have been able to wall in the king or trap him, but for now it looks like both players are headed somewhat back toward their base without losing anything too much. Castle Age coming at just about the exact same moment for both sides.
Yep, I mean, once you start seeing players getting up to the Castle Age, that's when the king really needs to go back home and get into a tower. The reason you put your king in a tower as opposed to a castle or a town center, yes, the towers are weaker, but you know, if you're garrisoning units in your castles or town center, then you send your military out or your villagers out, and the king goes with them, and then the king runs into 10 cavalier and dies. So that's why you put them in a building that you're not going to be ungarrisoning a lot.
It's always a bit of a fun cat and mouse game sometimes with this, especially if it's a free-for-all. I mean, you're running and trying to snipe someone's king, and they've hidden it in some clever place, like inside of a town center in the middle of their economy or something. So we'll keep an eye on that. But both guys are still roaming around now with their scouts. I believe the kings have both gone back home to roost for the winter. And for now, we've got a quiet moment, Ornlu. So you were talking earlier about the late game meta of guys maybe building up some Huskarls and then maybe, having to counter those with champions. you think we're going to see that here after a couple of TCs are added in for each side?
Yeah, I think that's going to be quite likely. Generally, the way this Castle Age plays out, in my experience, is you have a player either going for a pretty hefty boom with just adding on a bunch of TCs, abusing the fact that you have walls and towers to protect you, and then maybe getting map control with a few Huskarls and some monks to take the relics. Very sort of arena-esque. But then you could also have the just full-on aggression with like siege workshops, monasteries, and tons of Huskarls.
Yeah, for now I'm seeing 3 TCs for our player in blue. On the yellow side of things, Hoodlum is going to go with 3 TCs as well. I think he might have used the market. I was confused at his stone count, but it's all good. We will see both guys booming up a bit more. For now, I do not see too much military on the map. I see a military count of 2, so I suppose that's the king and the scout. Neither player adding in any military yet because, of course, your opponent's stonewalled in. So these economies are going to boom up a bit, and we will see this game start to develop into hopefully a really interesting matchup in just a few moments.
Yep, of course there's usually this sort of quiet point on any sort of closed map where everyone's just kind of getting their boom on, throwing down a lot of villagers. And if you're not choosing to go for the aggression, you're really not going to see a whole lot of conflict. I really think we're not going to see any fighting until people start making monasteries and start taking those relics, because having relic control as this game goes on is going to be pretty crucial.
Yeah, relic control will be an interesting thing to see. If we look at the map without Fog of War, we can see that there are 2 relics on the left side near Hoodlum's base. There's kind of 1 neutral relic near the middle of the map. There's also kind of a neutral relic on the far right. I mean, it's much closer to Zuppy, but it's so far out on the corner that you could foresee the yellow player trying to get that relic as well. Both players have scouted all of the relics except Zuppy's missing 1, but he's missing the 1 on the far left that he's not going to get. I think Hoodlum is going to have that relic pretty easily. So both guys will get out for the relic soon, and right as I say that, I'm seeing the yellow player Hoodlum adding in a monastery, and I'm seeing Zuppy not yet adding one in.
Yeah, and pretty interesting to see. I think we need to see something from Zuppy, whether it be a 4th TC or something. There we go, monastery coming in for him as well. So just a little bit slower to add on his monastery. Nothing too crazy, it seems.
Ooh, I'll tone down the panic a bit. Yeah, I see it coming in now. Zuppy adding in the monastery also. So if you're the yellow player here, you're going to get the first monk out. I do not see Hoodlum actually queuing a monk yet, so we'll keep an eye on that. Sometimes you can try to get across the map and get the furthest relic first, but of course each player does have a scout left still. So it is a little precarious trying to get out into no man's land with a monk.
Yeah, usually that's when I send my monk out on the map and forget I made the monk, and then he just dies to the scout. So I think this is a sort of situation where you do want to take your close relics first. I don't think anyone's really going to be able to get away with sending their monk off into the distance and trying to take one of their opponent's relics, so to say. So probably just going to see them collect their nearest relics. And I think that probably slightly favors Zuppy because, you know, as we were saying, the relic on the far right is a bit closer to Zuppy. And of course he has the 2 in front of his base as well.
Yeah, let's see if the Finns can grab another point here. Of course, Ares would want the point as well. Just to clarify, this is a match worth 1 point. It's 1v1 on Regicide. The last match was worth 3, so of course you can tell from the scoreboard who won that one. But the Finns here, they do want this point. They want to defend every map that they can and try to grab these points. I think they're the favorite, at least in my eyes, by a fair margin. But I don't really know about Zuppy's skill on a closed map like this. I mean, I know he's a strong player on any map. But I'm not sure if his advantage over Hoodlum is going to be that big here. Yellow player, by the way, getting a relic in toward home. Zuppy was pretty close with his scout, but not able to stop his opponent from grabbing the first relic. Blue player is also out on the map grabbing some relics. He's got 1 Huskarl in the mix, Ornlu. Get excited. Get hyped.
Oh man, time to get hyped. Something's happening. But yeah, we actually have a few Huskarls coming in here for Zuppy. And he's probably going to do it just to help protect his monks and prevent his opponent from taking the relics. And I was actually just thinking, Zuppy's been fairly active recently in 1v1s. I think he's like 2,300 plus right now, whereas Hoodlum is actually a little under 2k. So there is over a 300 point skill rating difference between these two guys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I'll keep one eye on that. I'm also interested in men-at-arms coming in from Zuppy. Zuppy adding in barracks now and going for the men-at-arms upgrade. So Zuppy's got 2 barracks down. He's going for a 3rd barracks as we speak. He's going to get the Goth spam rolling here pretty soon. Immediately going to go to those militia line for Zuppy. Villager counts are about 65 for each player, both guys booming quite effectively. We're going to see this match heat up in a moment with Longswordman coming in now for Zuppy.
Yep. As I was saying earlier, you make a few Huskarls in the early Castle Age, maybe try to deny opponents some relics. But as the sort of relic distribution worked out this game, that probably isn't really going to happen. And then you just transition into a bunch of mass infantry, because Huskarls are not exactly cost-efficient versus the generic swordsman line, especially when you're talking about Goth swordsmen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely not effective. I haven't seen any monks getting sniped yet, but I do see a corpse out on the field. So something died near the yellow player's monk with a relic. So maybe we did see yellow losing a monk earlier on, but it's going to be 2 relics for yellow, as you said. It looks like it's going to be 3 relics for Zuppy as he walks out to grab that 3rd one. Now, Zuppy is looming up. He's going for handcart. It's going to heat up here pretty soon with a couple of longswords. Well, probably an imp with the militia line from Zuppy.
Yep, the one unit that has died this game was a monk of Hoodlum. It was just died to the scout. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Fairly passive game so far. Everyone just content to build their economies, play farming simulator.
Well,
Life is good.
Hoodlum's going to click to imp first, and Zuppy is going to ratchet up the pressure first. He's going scale mail armor. He has actually built a fair number of longswords. Military number for Zuppy is above 20. He's got some monks, he's got some longswords, and oh boy, Ornlu, he's got 3 petards coming out. He's ready to bust through a wall here, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we just right now have the additional barracks being added in for Hoodlum, who's getting, men-at-arms, getting loom, and all of the appropriate infantry upgrades, but Zuppy isn't having any of that. He's just pumping out infantry out of 3 barracks, and with these petards, he'll just obviously knock down the wall, and yes, Hoodlum is going to have the faster imp time, but what does that matter if you don't have any units? This is a very momentum-based matchup between in the Goth Mirror.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how deep Zuppy goes down this line. I mean, he's got a small army. He's sacrificing going imp by a little bit here. But will he keep spending the resources and keep the pressure on? The answer might be yes, because more barracks coming on the front for Zuppy. As he breaks through the wall with petards now, he's going to roll into that economy with longswords. Hoodlum with just 6 military to defend with is in a lot of trouble. +2 defense already in on those longswords. They're going to annoy this economy a lot. Yellow will get imp, but Zuppy's going to keep the pressure going. And Zuppy keeps spending that food, Ornlu.
Yeah, and I think this is very much the correct decision. If you're going to be aggressive in the Castle Age, you might as well just go all in, because if you just try to hang back and go to the Imperial Age, you're really going to lose that advantage with your military, because eventually, if you don't go all in on the aggression, your opponent's going to hang on and get to Imperial Age and just kind of swamp you. But if you just put on the aggression first, not let them get to that sort of level of technology and infrastructure that they need to beat your army, you're gonna be pretty good. And right now, it's about 4 times the military right now for Zuppy compared to Hoodlum.
Yeah, Hoodlum's going for 2-handed swords. He's just now grabbing foraging, getting the upgrades, trying to hold the line. Zuppy with a castle drop right on his opponent's face. As you said, one of the big problems here for Yellow is that he's got 2 barracks that are coming, will be under fire by a new castle. So those are effectively not going to be so useful. He's going to have to build new barracks back inside of his base, but one of those barracks is busy getting the 2-handed sword upgrade. At the end of it, it's 11 or 10 military-ish for the Yellow player, and it's almost 50 for Zuppy.
Yeah, and again, very much I think the correct decision just to go for this all-in Castle Age play. And 2-handed swordsmen, I mean, they only have 3 more attack than the long swordsmen. Mm-hmm. Which, it's nice, but they don't have any more HP or, anything like that, so it's not that significant an advantage. And, of course, no Imperial Age blacksmith upgrades or anything like that, no perfusion, those sort of important upgrades you need to get your Goth train running in the late game. Yes, he does have these trebuchets, but they're going to be instantly knocked down by these infantry, and I think this is very rapidly approaching GG.
Very interesting moment on that left side. Zuppy had just a couple of those Huskarls left over from the early part of the game. He was able to get him in and snipe those that first treb, like you said. That was a nice move for the blue player. He's keeping his forward aggression alive. If you're playing in the yellow, you're just hoping to hang on and keep things rolling, but hanging on is a real problem. As you said, it's starting to spiral out of control. Hoodlum's trying to get a TC up on the left side, but Zuppy is just now arriving with another army to deny that and to kill a few more vills. Our player in yellow is still on 82 vills. He's been able to hide a lot of villagers in the TCs and in the towers, but ultimately, he's not working very effectively with those vills. His military count is just 16. Zuppy is now clicking Imp, and the damage has really been done. Big advantage for Zuppy here, right?
Oh yeah, certainly. And you know, something small that I actually would have really liked to have seen Zuppy do is get the arson upgrade. He had a lot of longswordsmen working away at a house wall, and you know, Goths already have an additional attack versus buildings with their infantry, so just getting arson makes your infantry just absolutely tear through buildings. And it's not a very expensive upgrade, so I actually think that would have allowed him to get in a little bit faster, but you know, that's sort of fractional stuff. I mean, Zuppy's in a fantastic position. He's 20 villagers ahead, he's on his way to the Imperial Age, and he's still doing a good job piling on the pressure.
Yeah, it's a good point. And as you said, the pressure is still piling on. We still have Hoodlum trying to stabilize the ship. He's still got a Treb out. He's going to try to take Zuppy's castle down. Masonry just coming in for our player in blue, so that castle will be a little tougher. For now, the longswords are starting to pull back a little. I'm seeing Zuppy mostly going back. He is still sending some units into the fray to grab a few more vills. But it's a 20 villager disadvantage for blue, or advantage for blue. Imperial Age will come in, he'll get the upgrades, and then I think he'll be back again with another big push.
Yeah, we do have the champion upgrade on the way for Hoodlum, so I think once he gets that, he'll, I think, pretty effectively drive off Zuppy, but for how long, right? I mean, Imperial Age is about 75% done for Zuppy, and he's going to be getting those Imperial upgrades for his infantry quite quickly as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a very tough spot for our player in yellow Hoodlum to claw back from. We'll see if he can do it. Continuing to add in barracks inside of his economy is the player in yellow. Zuppy is doing the same thing, adding in barracks, adding in now more longswords, which will soon be upgraded as the blue player hits the Imperial Age. Now, so really good map control for Zuppy. What can he do to finish this game, Ornlu? Does he need to transition any units, or just keep piling on the pressure with soon-to-be champions?
Hit his barracks hotkey, and then hit the longswords hotkey, and then get associated upgrades. I think that is all you need to do to win the game if you're Zuppy. You just can't let your opponent get up to a sizable military count, then you sort of lose your momentum, and then you really start to give Hoodlum a way to get back into this game. But if you just keep the pressure on, keep the champion numbers low, you can, afford a few, inefficient trades. If you just have the momentum, you have the better economy, and just make sure you don't give that up. You have a little bit of a champion run-by here for Hoodlum, killing a few villagers, but probably not going to get a whole lot done.
Yeah, one thing we didn't note a lot earlier on is where the extra gold piles are. You don't really need to look very hard. Just look for a mass of blue dots in the middle of nowhere, and you'll find a gold pile under those villagers. Zuppy with a bunch of miners on the map. He's got a ton of gold in the bank, over 2k gold. In my eyes, I'm seeing 35 gold miners for him. The player in yellow has 20, which is enough to keep some of the spam going, but Hoodlum has about 250 gold in the bank, so he's certainly not mining as much as Zuppy, and he's also not able to have as much gold in the bank.
Yeah, and gold is very important in a Goth mirror, because even though your units are very cheap, if you're reduced to trash units, you're going to have a real hard time fighting infantry, and that's obviously the name of the game in a Goth mirror. So really important to have that gold count consistently high. And also worth noting here is that once champion comes in for Zuppy, he's going to have effectively the same upgrades as his opponent, but he will also have the iron casting and blast furnace attacks ahead of his opponent. So the units will just win in the straight up fight.
It's interesting. I'm seeing both players making a potential transition here at the same time. I see Zuppy in the blue adding in archery ranges right in front of his base. Just saw him grabbing chemistry as well. The player in yellow Hoodlum has gone for anarchy, and I am starting to wonder if we are going to see a bunch of Huskarls be spammed, but I don't know if Hoodlum can afford that. Kind of confused about the anarchy upgrade there.
Yeah, I mean, anarchy is... It is in itself a very expensive upgrade, and then the Huskarls are very expensive. You want to get the Elite Huskarl upgrade, which is like 1200 food or something, and the Hand Cannoneers just need the Chemistry upgrade. So, obviously, a much cheaper, easier transition, and on top of that, Zuppy has the better economy, and as you were mentioning earlier, the much better gold income.
Yeah, right now our player in blue is getting close to having 3k gold, and Zupi's doing a great job on the left side of Hoodlum's base. He just keeps sending in champions. They're not necessarily killing Vils, they're not necessarily winning that side, but they're keeping the yellow player from taking that very precious gold on the left. Continued villagers having to hide inside the town center makes this a tough game for Hoodlum.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to the value of momentum in Age of Empires. It is a very momentum-paced game, and perhaps nothing more so than the Gothmere, because if you just can't get your army count numbers anywhere near significant, you're just not going to win the game. I mean, Zupi's doing such a fantastic job of just always keeping his opponent on the back foot. His KD is only a little bit better than Yellow's, but it's all about just that momentum and preventing Hoodlum from getting to that army comp and size he needs.
Yeah, it's absolutely a huge problem at this point in the game. It's about 30 military for the player in yellow, and it's about 60 for our player in blue. Zupi, by the way, coming in with that first batch of hand cannons, and now he can knock down Hoodlum's TC on the left side. So if Hoodlum had dreams of taking some gold there and pushing out, those dreams are going to be shattered. Just 12 gold miners for the player in yellow, and those units are going to be under pressure as well soon, as Zupi's pushing in on the right side of the base of Hoodlum as well. So Hoodlum's in a ton of trouble here, Ornlu. I don't think there's any way out, do you?
Well, obviously with the one archer of Zupi... Oh, crap, it died. Never mind. The one archer dream has no longer. So obviously Zupi's going to lose the game now.
Okay.
Just kidding. It's currently 80 military to 35 in favor of Zupi, and he's just not going to, you know, ease up on the pressure. Just keep it, you know, pedal to the metal. Make sure that your opponent doesn't have a moment to breathe and collect that gold on the left side especially, or in the front. And yeah, Zupi's doing just that.
Yeah, Hoodlum right now is sitting with 100 gold, 600 gold, 100 food, and there we have it. The GG comes in from the player in yellow. Zupi will grab the win for the Suomi, the Finland team. Very nice match there. This is the second match here of this series. What are your final thoughts on this one, Ornlu, to wrap things up? This Goth's Mirror on Regicide.
Well, it was all about that Castle Age aggression from Zupi, and it just was perfectly executed, and he just got the momentum and never let up, and that's how you get the GG. Yeah,
indeed. Very nice win from the Finnish side here. They will gladly take that point, and they will move on to try to finish off the Ares A team in our next matchup.
Them off.
Oh, I didn't even, no pun intended, but it was there, I guess.
I got you, fam.
So I think Zach is now looking at the achievements, so I can take a look here too. I don't think people need us to walk through the achievements too much. As you said, it was that key moment that Zupi dove in and basically punished his opponent going quickly to Imp. I think that's the story of the game, and that's all I have to say about that. Any final thoughts on the achievements, Ornlu?
I think the most important one to look at is just 92 military, largest army for Zupi, only 41 for Hoodlum, and that really, I think, just tells the story of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should bring Zach back into the fray and see what he has to say.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm back.
Hey.
Yeah, nice game, actually. We've seen 3 Regicide Fortress games so far. We saw 2 yesterday. And the 2 we saw yesterday, the first one was Liri, and the second one was Tato. And they were both playing, 16, 1700 rated players. So they were a bit of troll games. But this one was nice. I liked the way that Zupi started his attack in the Castle Age instead of waiting for Imperial. Because I think, as Ornlu quite rightly said, it's all about getting the momentum and getting it first. Because once you've got the momentum, it's very difficult to break it. And, you also said Zupi was taking some bad trades, which was true. But he was just suffocating and suppressing his opponent until he could eventually catch up in tech in the Imperial Age and then upgrade his superior and larger army and steamroll. I think that's exactly what he did, and he did it flawlessly.
Absolutely. Picking the right moment to jump in on the old double Dutch jump roping gets the Finns another win.
Yep, and then we'll be moving on to Baltic next. And it's worth noting that the rules state you cannot have the same player playing in the Baltic or the Valley games if they played in the Fortress game. So it has the Finnish team have to use all of their roster here, or all 4 players over Fortress, Baltic, and Valley. They cannot repeat players during these 3 maps. So Baltic will be our next match. Go on, Ornlu.
I was just going to say, I think it's very likely that we'll see the Max and Valest play the 2v2 because, they've been playing 2v2s together forever. They're very comfortable, as a duo. And especially since Baltic is the next map, as this is, in fact, an Escape tournament, we should see the Pike, and in the water map in the Vikings mirror.
Yep, and that will be the next match, the 1v1 for 1 point, which means if the Suomi do win this, they still aren't home and dry. They still have to win either Valley or Gold Rush to qualify, but they're certainly going to be feeling happy now that they've got 4 points under their belt. Valley will be the 2v2 map that you just spoke about, and next up, it's going to be Baltic. So if you guys are ready, we'll count down and go into game number 3.
Let's do it.
All right, in 3, 2, 1, and take it away.
All right, guys, here we are, game number 3 between the Finns and Aries A. The score looks a bit weird. It is 4-0 for the Finns because they got 3 points in the first match. They got a point just now in Regicide. And now we will see Northern Pike as the Vikings versus USR, also known as Whoop as the Vikings. I'm Killer B, glad to be here today. Glad to be joined by Ornlu. What's up, man?
Not much. A pretty good game so far, pretty interesting. I think pretty demonstrative of, how you can win these sorts of maps in these sorts of situations. So pretty glad to be, watching those and casting them with you, man.
Yeah, demonstrative. I have to get my dictionary out, but very nice intro. I'm watching Northern Pike's part of the base first. People will know this map because it is the legendary Baltic map. You've got obviously the big lake in the center. You are going to want to fight over that usually with a navy, but you can always circumvent that naval fight and try to make a push on land. It's not hard to wall in the edges of this map, but you don't see it happening all that much because you'd have to peel a villager off pretty early. So land or water, pick your poison, but usually you need to win the water to win Baltic. That's often the case in the matches I've seen. Pike versus Whoop here, Ornlu. Do you give an advantage to either of these players? I mean, you know a lot about both of them. Which one do you think is a little better on water?
Gotta hand it to Pike on water. I mean, obviously he has the Pike Patrol named after him, which was apparently you could use it with all units in AOC. User patch 1.4. I didn't know that, but it's most famously was used for galleys. Can't do it anymore, but you still have Pike with all of his experience, especially with these Viking mirrors on water maps. No, obviously because it's a Viking mirror, no worries with fire galleys or anything like that. It's just going to be straight galleys, and it's going to be coming down to who has the better early game build order and who has the better galley micro. Absolutely.
Very, very important note there that we aren't going to see the fire galleys. That's kind of the meta, often to get those out first and then transition over to regular old galleys. But we're going to see kind of an old-fashioned one. Big ups to the admins, whoever chose to do this as a Viking game. Oh, man. It's going to be wonderful because we'll get galley micro.
Yeah, it's great to see because Fire Galley Micro isn't micro, really. So, yeah, obviously the Galley, a much more dynamic unit, I think we can all agree on, than the Fire Galley. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see these players just push to their limits in terms of how they can micro this unit.
Yeah, early on here, we're going to see... Oh, we are going to see a scout fight. That's kind of a meaningful moment up near Pike's base. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, so it is the red player chasing around Pike now. Whoop will get a little bit of an advantage. It's not the end of the world to lose your scout here, but it certainly would be a nice little advantage to grab your opponent's scout down. Both guys might look to grab a villager who isn't loomed going out to build that initial dock, or maybe steal a boar or some sheep. But in this case, it looks like a pretty smooth Dark Age for both players' economies.
Yep, everything seems pretty normal. Everyone getting their docks out. Going to be getting usually 4 fishing ships, and really it's going to come down to who can click that feudal age button faster, because everything in this very aggressive water map is about just feudal age timing and just perfect execution in the early game.
Yeah, it's extremely important to get that uptime right, to have your wood economy correct, to have those probably 3 fishing ships out on each side to get your food, to continue your food economy rolling. You can transition all of your villagers over to wood or gold at that point in the game. So we'll see who can get that done first. For now, it is going to be Whoop lagging a little bit behind, maybe behind by about 10 or 15 seconds, getting his 16th or 17th villager rather out. Pike's grabbing loom, so we should expect the blue player to be clicking up very shortly.
Yep, and a very fast feudal age is almost always going to be very good on this map. Baltic, as a water map, is probably just the most aggressive water map. you really have no chance to back dock, which is, on a map like Islands or Team Islands or anything like that, you can put a dock on the back of your base, and it's just a much longer distance for your opponent to come over with their warships and start killing your fishing ships. You don't really have that on Baltic. Everything is just directed towards the middle, and it's, again, that just means it's all about that early game optimization.
Yeah, a very good point. I'm interested, actually, as you were saying that, to see Pike clicking up on 19 Vils, and our player in red is grabbing Loom. USR, aka Whoop, is going to be up quite a bit later, and it's going to be kind of difficult for USR to catch up here.
Yeah, and something I'd like to mention, someone pointed out in chat, the fish for USR are pretty feels bad, man. Pretty far away from his dock, and really just this lake seems to have a dearth of fish on the east side. They're all concentrated on the west side, so that's obviously going to be a lot better for Pike.
Yeah, first you find out you have to play a Viking, Northern Pike as the Vikings, and then you find out that your fish is just no bueno on your side of the map. Not ideal at all for our player in red. Both guys did go for 4 fishing ships. We got the second dock coming down for the blue player Pike. Pike is going to be up to feudal first. He'll get the first galleys out. The red player, notably, is adding in a second dock as well. Both players should be transitioning villagers over to gold. I see 3 Vils going to gold for our player in blue. I see 4 villagers going to gold for the player in red.
Yeah, and this just goes back to Pike being so comfortable on these water maps. You can just see the slightly more optimized opening. You have the epic anime battle of the 2 scouts by Pike's docks, but since Pike hit the feudal age first, he will be winning that quite handily. Now might be able to send his scout to harass his opponent's villager.
That's interesting. Pike actually adding in a 4th dock. That's going to make it so that he can't afford a second galley yet. So the first galley will come out for our player in blue, but he'll immediately have 3 docks. So Pike not quite with the resources to keep the docks rolling, at least not from my point of view. But he will eventually have 3 docks rolling in a moment. On the red side of things, we've got USR, who does have the 3 docks and immediate 3 galley production. So despite being up a bit earlier, Pike might not have a naval advantage here. He's going to get the first ship forward to try to snipe a fishing ship, but that's going to be his only real chance here.
Yeah, but already we see USR forced to gather from this shorefish right between his docks, which is incredibly slow and not at all efficient for these fishing ships. So I'd actually say that that's already a bit of an advantage here for our blue player.
Yeah, Pike up early is certainly going to have a chance to harass. I was just thinking that maybe his initial push is not going to fall into an unguarded group of fishing ships. Red player maybe tactically keeping those fishing ships deep inside of his production. Ultimately, Whoop is going to get his military rolling. He's going to be fine to push back that initial bastion of ships from Northern Pike. And for now, both guys go back to their corners to regroup.
Yep, both players having killed each other's scouts with no other casualties this game. Fishing ships, though, for USR are still gathering that shorefish. Still not feeling comfortable to move out on the map. So we start to see the galleys engage each other.
Yeah, it could be interesting if Zuppy can keep those fish in the corner, or rather Pike in this case can keep those fish in the corner, or maybe even snipe 1 or 2 of them. Could be a nice little advantage. For now, I'm seeing 6 military for each side. Both players seem to be committed on the water. We are seeing Whoop adding in a blacksmith, and I assume we are going to see Zuppy, Northern Pike doing the same very shortly. I don't know why I got the wrong player in mind.
That's why. And they're even playing the same color. But yeah, obviously going to be a bit of a scuffle going on in the middle of the map here. 4th docks coming in for both these players, but as you mentioned, a much faster blacksmith for USR this game. So we'll see if he can take advantage of that faster fletching, because right now he's kind of getting Shrek'd in the galley wars because he's already down about a couple kills in terms of the galleys.
Yeah, as you said, fletching is on the way. Our player in red, USR, is trying to hide his fishing ships on the bottom of the map. He did lose, I think, 1 during that retreat, but he is ultimately going to get 3 of those fishing ships to a new dock on the right side of the map, which is, I think I would consider that a win. Those ships were in a very precarious situation. Player in red has 7 navy. Player in blue has 10. So Pike here, if he can get a good engagement, can certainly get a lot more damage done than his opponent.
Yeah, of course, we do have to sort of underscore that fletching is a very big deal in these early galley wars. You just get the extra range and the extra damage. Same with the archers on the land, but if we can see Pike here sort of corner USR's navy, as it is sort of go into the edge of the lake, It doesn't really matter if you have the extra range. If your opponent has the superior numbers, they can easily win that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like USR was trying to sneak around and maybe get in to try to grab a couple of those fishing ships. But Pike is waiting and ready and does a nice job to grab a couple ships. And now the discrepancy in military has widened a bit. I've got a 5-unit difference at the moment for the player in blue. Blue player Pike is already keeping some annoyance right up into the face of his opponent's docks, though he has not found the new fishing ships yet, or the new fishing location yet, where USR is taking fish.
Yeah, and really it's just been down to these slight sort of marginal advantages in favor of Pike, just giving him just better and better engagements, really just sort of snowballing his lead. Currently 9 kills for him, 4 deaths on my screen, and yeah, he's going to easily win this engagement between the 2 galleys here.
Yeah, so I'm at 17-10, so we'll make sure we're on the same schedule. But yes, the kill death is going great for our player in blue, Pike. He's doing a really good job keeping pressure on. He's also adding in stone walls. Pike is adding in stone walls on the right side of the map so that his opponent can't try to transition the battle into a land battle. So that's how you know you're on a good pace, when you can peel a villager off to wall things up. Big galley fight in the middle, both players microing around, both players with fletching done. It is 5 military advantage for our player in blue, and unfortunately for USR, his fishing ships are now kind of fair game because his navy is on the run.
Yeah, and you did see USR try to get some kills onto Pike's fishing ships, and it looks like he did get maybe 1, but still just not taking these efficient engagements that you really need on a map that is this sort of like on a razor's edge. It's really about just getting these slight advantages and snowballing them.
Yeah, absolutely. At this level, I mean, these guys are extremely high-level players. They're taking minor advantages, and when you can get a couple minor advantages in a row, like Pike has done here, all of a sudden you've got 5 more military than your opponent. He's chasing USR into the corner, putting a lot of damage down on those galleys in retreat. So Red player is going to go from bad to worse here in this situation, and we may see Red try to transition into a land-based army sometime soon. He did drop a barracks in the back of his eco. You got to try something different because he's not winning the water. That doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, it's pretty common in water maps. If you realize that, okay, I'm losing the water, generally you try to go for some sort of land-based attack. But of course, because we have Pike walled off on the south of the map, and it's just going to be, you know, about half a year for any of these knights, what I guess they're going to be knights from USR since he is making the stable. That's going to be so long for them to get to the base of Pike, and I'm not sure if this is going to work out. He's also a lot slower to the castle age.
Now, it's not an ideal play. As you said, those stone walls up in the bottom mean that he'll have to go the long way around the horn here on this Baltic map, which will take a very long time. And even by the time he gets there, Pike might decide to wall up the other side, because it's going to be a long time before those knights get in. We will not see knights yet, of course, because our player in red is just now clicking to the castle age. Pike is going to beat him up to the castle age, and Pike should be very comfortably taking over the water, already putting pressure on the docks of our red player. But USR is going to come out with another group of galleys from his docks and try to get an engagement and push Pike back. But it seems like it's all going great for blue as he does stonewall in the left side.
Yeah, I mean, Pike's realizing, okay, I have the water advantage. How can I lose this game? Because everything is within my grasp. Okay, if I get landed with a bunch of archers or knights and lose all my villagers, that's one way to do it. So just make sure you don't let any sneaky transport ships get through. Make sure that you're stonewalled so that any land-based attacks are going to be quite slow. Mm-hmm. And yeah, then you're pretty set if you're Pike. And I really like the way he's sort of playing this at this stage.
Yeah, Pike is on the way to Bodcanero, which will help his ships a lot, and he's on the way to War Galley, which will help his ships a lot. And he's got the red player USR kind of pinned into the bottom corner of the map. USR is trying to run in and snipe fishing ships, but this is going to be a massacre as the War Galley upgrade comes in. The red player gets cleaned up for an extremely low price. Definitely not a good engagement for red. Red player down to 10 military, as you said. Added in that stable, we'll hit the castle age and try to maybe get some knights out. But it's looking really, really rough.
Yeah, I mean, even so, it's one stable knight production, and they're Viking knights, so they're not exactly great. And it's just you know, USR is still committing a ton to the water. He's adding more and more docks in the north of the map. He's still producing galleys, and honestly, this doesn't seem like a winning line of play to me.
Certainly going to be a difficult one to pull out from the fire. We are going to see War Galley coming from USR. We are going to see Bodkin Arrow coming. We're going to see more docks coming to the north, so the red player is not giving up yet. But Pyke is here already kind of starting to surround this area, starting to put pressure on some of those docks. Pyke's also got a few ships kind of roaming around the map to make sure that there's no sneaky attacks going. He's got that big of a navy that he's pretty confident to peel some of those units off from the main fight, just to make sure, like you said, that he doesn't get landed.
Yeah, and, well, I'm not really sure why USR is trying to do this. It's a mirror matchup, right? So if you're doing the same exact thing as your opponent, but you're pretty far behind, you're just going to lose. And right now we're going to see Pyke easily clean up USR's war galleys on this sort of left side of the lake.
Yeah, these small advantages early have put Pyke in a great spot, and now Pyke continues to basically be patient, wait for his moments, and trap USR where he can. We've seen 2 or 3 naval engagements that have been massively lopsided toward the blue player, and now it's really looking bad for USR. USR did add that stable in the back of his eco, but I have not seen any knights on the map. I haven't seen any production coming. He's been focused on getting war galleys up, and he continues to focus on that. But it's not working like you said, and the big difference here is going to be that Pyke can start adding in more fishing ships, and he can start fishing out this huge amount of resource in the central lake, and that's going to always give him a nice eco boost for the rest of the match until USR can either win it back or give the GG.
Well, of course, the Gillnet's tech being of the utmost importance here for Pyke. No one ever researches it. It's actually really good. It makes your fishing ships like super efficient, especially when you have like 10 of them. But I also want to sort of everyone go to the view of Pyke. He just had so much sort of vision of the lake, so many ships every which way, making sure that his opponent cannot get a sneaky landing done anywhere. And I really like how he's sort of, you know, dotting his I's and crossing his T's and making sure that his opponent has absolutely no way of getting back in this game.
Yeah, this is a serious match. I mean, the winning team for this set of matches is going to go on to the ECL, and that's a big deal. So Pyke here knows what's on the line, taking his sweet time, being very conservative, I would say, keeping those ships all around, making sure that he doesn't get landed. Big naval engagement on the right side of the map. The red player is standing and fighting. He, for now, is actually getting some decent trades versus Pyke. Pyke's military is just 14. All of a sudden, the blue player is going to have to go back and regroup.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty questionable engagement for Pyke. The docks were obviously very close for USR as he was fighting right next to them, and Pyke just sort of trickled in his units one by one, and you know that's not really a good way to get all of those ranged units sort of just grouping together and getting maximum damage, and that really just allowed USR to win a fight that he otherwise might not have.
Yeah, pretty good fight for our player in red. Maybe a little bit of hope springing for the Ares team. For now, it is both guys going back to their own side of the map and starting to mass up. Pyke still does have a few more numbers in the mix, but we will see if the red player can kind of cordon off a small part of this navy again and get a good battle. Both guys have added ballistics, still not seeing any land-based aggression on my map. So it's all about the navy. And for now, USR has a bit of hope here.
Yeah, just did a quick dock count, and I believe both are at 7 right now. Pyke actually getting the careening technology, just giving himself a little bit more armor. Which I think it's the 8th dock now coming in for Pyke, but now that we will see Pyke being the defender with the much closer reinforcements, I think he should be able to win this fight, especially with careening.
Very nice decision from Pyke to keep his navy out of the mix, mass up a little bit, let the red player push on him. Pyke is sitting on a 10 villager advantage and a 10 fish advantage, 11 fish advantage. So there is a lot more eco streaming in for the blue player. Looks like he's going to come in now from the left side, Ornlu, and probably pop units out of the dock here in just a second.
Yep, I think it's a very smart decision to keep those ships garrisoned inside the dock before you pick the perfect moment to take the engagement. Obviously, water units didn't really have a whole lot they can do in terms of retreating, so making sure they didn't get his units picked off as soon as they left the dock, just letting all of his units engage at the same time, and this should be a pretty handy victory here for Northern Pyke.
Yeah, both players reinforcing, but the blue docks are much closer than the red docks, so USR is starting to run low on ships, and his reinforcements are just trickling in. Red looks to be ready to retreat now. He's going to try to get out of dodge, but certainly another good engagement for Pike, and we see now a 8 military advantage, but still 13 more villagers and 11 more fish for the player in blue. This is going to get out of control soon unless USR can get a really good engagement.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth mentioning that as this game goes on, and water control still seems to be pretty decisively in favor of Pike, wood lines are going to become a problem for USR. He's pretty much chopped through the forest at the back of his base. He's working on the forest near his main gold. And other than that, it's going to be pretty tough for him to gather wood, which is, of course, the most important resource in this situation, as wood builds ships. You need ships to win the game.
I like how you can always simplify it down. That's really cool. Yep, wood builds ships, ships win games. Sounds like something Doubt would say almost. Big fight though. While we're talking about the late game, this game is not going to last much longer if Pike continues to get good fights like this. 29 military now for Pike. USR is standing and fighting in front of his own base now, and the number of ships for the red player is going to fall below 10. This might steamroll out of control before the late game really matters. Pike should click Imp any moment. USR is nowhere close on the food. Having 11 less fishing ships and having 20 less villagers is putting a strain on the red economy.
Yeah, I mean, USR's warship count is just dropping faster than my Vubli rating, which is rather alarming. And now he's pretty much down to no fleet, no land army, much smaller economy, and he might even just call it a GG as soon as Pike hits the Imperial Age.
He may just do that. The docks for the red player are going down. It's an extremely important game, so USR here should give it a go if he sees any glimmer of hope to try to win, but I do think the Imperial Age might be cause for a GG. The red player is getting out onto some stone in the back of his eco, just now adding in that third town center to the north. That stone can be used to drop a castle near the shore, and you can try to rebuild your docks, but while you're doing all of that work to gather stone and to get the castle and to get your docks up, the player in blue is going to continue to hold the center lake. He's going to continue to put pressure on you from the edges of said lake. It's not a great way to get back in the game in this particular state for red. I don't know if there is any way to get back in the game.
I don't think there is. He has less than half the population of his opponent. And again, I really have to call attention to the fact that Pike has such good vision on the lake. He's really just preventing USR from sneaking any docks anywhere, and it's just such safe play, really sort of, you know, not allowing any chance for USR to get back onto this water.
Yeah, USR is in a world of hurt. Pike is also on stone, maybe thinking about a castle of his own. He can do whatever he wants with that castle. He can come and drop it on his opponent if he wants to. Imperial Age will hit for Pike now, and we will see if we get a GG. Looks like we'll get 1G, Ornlu.
Ooh, the salty 1G.
The 1G. Oh, man. So 1G comes in from USR. 1G in this case is worth 1 point for the Suomi team. The Finns will take a 5-0 lead. I'll leave it to you, Ornlu. What are your final thoughts here? I mean, we all saw how it kind of spiraled out of control, but is there anything else that jumped out at you in this match?
Pike's good at water, especially Viking mirrors. And like we were saying all game, it's just these little sort of fractional advantages just piling on top of each other and just giving Pike the snowball he needed to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pike following it up with a castle drop right on his opponent's face here at the end of the match. Just a little exclamation point for the win here for Finland. A very nice match. I think I'll jump out quickly and we can take a quick look at the achievements. Again, it's one of those games that came down to really nice small engagements from Pike early and then really nice bigger engagements late. I think he just took the better fights except for one and ultimately got a huge advantage being able to fish that center pond. Yeah,
and I think probably be getting Zach back in here, but yeah, what do you think of the Viking mirror in the Wolo Kingdoms era?
Well, I don't know if that question was directed to me, but Killer B was silent for a little too long, so I'll answer it. I actually think that hold on a sec, let me just close this. I think that the Vikings mirror, the reason we chose the Vikings mirror is because it's a bit more traditional, and with this whole sort of map pack and this whole Civ mirror situation, we want the qualifications to be quite traditional because we're trying to find out the best teams from the qualification without throwing anything too crazy their way, which it makes sense, right? But it's not too representative of the main tournament because the main tournament will not see so many mirror matches. We'll see much more varied and different maps. But for the qualification, we have to make it standard. We have to make it fair. And that's why we have mirrors and we have this kind of classic matches.
Yeah, and my question in that game, as individuals such as Robo kept on pointing out in chat, is where were the longboats? Especially when you get into the Castle Age. Make longboats. They're good.
They're a good comeback mechanic as well for Whoop there. Could have been a good option, actually, because, you know, he was outnumbered, and the thing that he needed to do was catch up in military count. So by going longboats, he can train them faster, and he can repopulate his military a little easier. So it could have been a good option for him. But, you know, maybe players are still not used to the fact that you don't need to build a castle to unlock your unique unit on the water.
Yeah, and, well, it's something I'd like to see sort of, as players get more used to the expansions on water maps, because obviously most people just play Arabia or Arena. I'm sure we will start to see that. Also, like turtle ships for Korean players on water maps. I just played a game the other day where I just went directly into turtle ships on water, and it was a lot of fun. Surprisingly good.
Yes, turtle ships. But nowadays as well, you have this meta, right, where fire galleys are used, and then they tech into fire ships more often. And turtles are so good at killing fires, so it's actually a legit strat. And I think that's a good idea. Just real quick, before we go into the Valley 2v2 match, I want to say thank you to Rubly Official for hosting us, and thanks to the people who have subbed and resubbed as well. I saw Random Gamer with an 18-month resub saying, happy to see that my subs have been going to something awesome, AOE comeback. Absolutely, man. We're going to be doing a year full of amazing games, the highest sort of quality Age of Empires 2 that you're going to see anywhere. And it's all starting here with the qualification highlights. Of course, a reminder to everybody, the main event will be starting and will be streamed on the 21st of July. So put that in your calendar. It's 27 days away. I know it's a little while, but that's when the hype is really going to begin. That's where we're going to have 8 of the best teams in the world going at it. And of course, for the qualification, the way that the seeding is done, it's in such a way that the best teams won't really face too much of a challenge, and they'll get a quite easy qualification run. Thank you to Frozen Brain as well for the Prime sub. Much appreciated. And of course, all your support is going to be used for supporting tournaments and future events. Of course, this tournament will have a LAN final as well, which is going to be super exciting, but lots more information about that coming a bit later in the year. For now, though, guys, are you ready for Valley? This could be the match point. Well, it is the match point.
Absolutely.
I'm ready.
All right. If Suomi take this, then they will qualify. If Arrows A manage to not equalize, but win this game, they have still got an opportunity to qualify if they win Gold Rush as well. So it's a little bit of an interesting setup that we have. The fact that you can win 2 maps and still qualify through.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Which 2 maps you win? Oh, sorry.
Valley and Gold Rush together are worth 6 points. But they're at the end of the format, right? So they have to fight through in order to get there. And then momentum is in favor of Finland. And also we have more emphasis on 3v3 in this tournament, so it's worth more. But anyway, I will pause the music here, and we'll get into the next game. If you're ready, guys, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alrighty then, we are here with the 3rd game between Finland, or the 4th game between Finland and Ares A. The score is 5-0. Some of the matches are worth more than 1 point, but don't get confused. All you need to know is that Finland can win this game and punch their ticket to qualifying for the ECL. On the other side, Ares A must win this game to have a chance to stay alive. I'm Killer B. I'm joined again by Ornlu. And what do you think about this one, Ornlu? Max and Valise versus Shuani and Black Mamba.
Yeah, I think that Shuainu and Black Mamba, also known as Yinghua and Stray Dog respectively, they're probably the two best players on the Ares A team. So I think they're probably, you know, putting all of their chips in this basket or something. But they are, you know, really everything is on the line here. If they lose this, they are eliminated from this tournament. So everything is going to be super crucial for them to win.
Yeah, they must win here on Valley. This is the map Valley that you guys will notice. Tons of food in the middle of the map. Tons of deer out there. Lots of shore fish to gather. Both sides of the map will have these dotted small wood lines. You'll also have quite a bit of gold and stone near your base to get things going. So it's a map that we don't see enough of. It's a very, very good map. I hope we get a nice match here. You introduced Ares and the power that they have, but boy, are they up against... For my money, Max and Valise might be the best 2v2 team in this tournament. I know that people are going to roast me for that, but I just think these two guys play so well together. Their level of communication and their way to pick the right fight at the right moment is absolutely unmatched by really anybody that I can think of. Again, I know people will probably not agree, but going to be very interested to see how this one shapes up, as these two guys are absolute beasts. Valise's scout is forward, maybe looking to grab some resources. Everybody else is scouting their own side, so I'm keeping my eye on the gray scout, Ornlu.
Yeah, and I would not be someone who argues with you in that Valese and the Max are the best 2v2 team in the world right now. They just have so much experience playing together. I mean, they play a ton of games together. I think the only duo that sort of compares would be Leary plus Hart, another, you know, set of really good players who play a ton together. And then maybe like, you know, Viper and Doubt or something, but definitely top three, I think, without a doubt.
That was a good use of agreeing without agreeing. You'd be a great politician. No, I think you did name the top three teams there, so that's going to be really... it will be cool to see these teams square off as we go through. Right now, it's all about Shuainu and Black Mamba trying to get something done here in this match. No laming did come in from Valise's scout. He circled around his opponent's base, but I did not see him steal anything of meaning. For now, it is a pretty standard early game buildup. No one has been able to lame anything that I've seen. But I am seeing the scout from our orange player, Black Mamba, getting chased through the base of the Max. I'm also seeing the Max starting to wall in his side pretty early on in this game.
Yeah, and, you know, we think of Valley as very similar to Arabia, and it is. Obviously, with the sort of unique feature being this dry riverbed with all of the deer and shorefish. But it is, I think, a lot more wallable than the average Arabia map. You can actually get a team wall up reasonably quickly, as you just have these small forests dotting most of the map and just fall in between them, and you're pretty set. And that's exactly what we see the Max doing here.
I think it stands to reason that Max and Valise might want to get some structure up, because we did see Ares in the first game of this series put on an absolute ton of pressure. I think that that's kind of Ares' best chance to win, but they can win at standard as well. But I think the Finns would be a little crazy to not get some structure going. For now, the Max is lured in his second board. It's a long lure, but it looks like, well, he's got Loom. He should be okay here. I'm keeping one eye on that villager. I am watching the red player as well. Shuainu is he continues to try to find a villager to lame. It looks like he's been lurking around his opponent's base, trying to grab a vill. Valese is going to go up with a barracks now, so we will maybe see some early aggression from the player in gray.
Yeah, we haven't really talked much about the civs this game. It is a Chinese plus Japanese East Asian wombo combo mirror. And I think it is most likely that we will see the Japanese players go for some sort of either Drush or Feudal Age Men-at-Arms aggression, and then the Chinese player going for scouts.
It seems like a good combination that we might expect. I am seeing two vills going over for Valese to the gold pile. Japanese player on the other team is playing in the orange trunks. The orange player is going over to gold as well with two vills and just finishing up the barracks. So Black Mamba and Valese will both go up to the Feudal Age in a moment, and it looks like they both could go for Men-at-Arms here. At least they're both positioned to do so. We will see the Max clicking up at 830 on 23 vills, and we'll see the red player as well on 23 vills at 823. So probably scouts, like you said, and Men-at-Arms.
Yep. In 2v2s, it's somewhat similar to the 4v4s in that you usually want one player going for the archer route and one player going for the cavalry route. Obviously, the Men-at-Arms have a clean transition into archers afterward, as do the scouts into knights or maybe camels. And obviously, since the Chinese generally have a bit more focus on the cavalry than the Japanese do. They do have fully upgraded cavalier and heavy camels in the late game, whereas the Japanese do not. And the Japanese are more likely to just go for the archers because they have a full archery range.
Absolutely. I think it's a pretty straightforward meta here. These guys so far look to be going down the lines of what we expect meta-wise, but there will be one additional but added to that. I am watching the orange player coming forward now. Black Mamba's got 4 villagers on the front to go along with his drush. So, well, not drush, but men-at-arms. So we are going to see some towers by the looks of it from orange, or at least a tower coming in from Black Mamba.
Yep. Well, I mean, Black Mamba, also known as Stray Dog, not known for being a particularly passive player. I actually don't remember the last time I've seen a game of this player not going forward of some kind. I literally have not seen a game in months of this player not going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and Stray Dog could pull this off because he's got the 4th man-at-arms in there. He is pushing the great player Velez away, and the 2 towers are up now. Orange has a tower and the Max with a defensive tower. We will see if this can work, but like you said, Stray Dog is extremely well known for pushing with towers, and this game will be no exception.
Yep, we do have the defensive tower in time here for the Max, and he does have 2 back stones he could take, so he'll at least have access to stone and defend against this Trush. Worth mentioning to everybody is that this is not played on the most recent balance update that was put out a few days ago. This is played on the patch that you're probably all playing your games on right now, so the towers of everyone in this game are still only costing 25 wood as opposed to 50.
Yeah, we'll see that tower from the orange player, that 25 wood tower going down. Max picking the right moment to rush in and take it over. Orange player is going to go up to the north. Black Mamba still has those 4 men-at-arms on their feet. He does have 4 villagers as well to go along with it, and he's going to maybe start to roll toward Velez's base. We'll have to see how this goes. No, he's going to take a right and head toward the Max and drop another tower. Max is going to abandon that wood line immediately and send villagers over to the other side of the map. For now, the Max has done pretty well with the tower defense, but let's see. Another one into the breach for Orange.
Yeah, I actually think this is pretty strange from the Max. He's just now getting his villagers mining stone. He's sending, looks like 7 villagers over to the stone. Mm-hmm. I would have personally liked to have seen him go on the stone much sooner when he realized that his opponent was going very aggressive with the forward towers. He knows his opponent is Stray Dog, knows his tendencies in being very aggressive, and not able to throw down a defensive tower quickly at all and losing his stable and woodline in the process.
Yeah, the Max is in a bit of an interesting spot as his scouts start to roll forward to try to hit orange. Notably, Velez in the gray is adding in archers, double-range archers for the gray player, up to 9 military already. For now, the red player, who is Xuanyu, who is roaming around with those scouts, has yet to find any damage that I've seen. We may see red come over and double team with his teammate. We may see him dive in on gray. It looks like he's going to dive in onto Velez's position and maybe pick a Vil here.
Yeah, looks like, yep, 1 villager is going to be dying here for Velez. Going to delay the blacksmith a little bit. Not really, you know, anything particularly catastrophic, though, as most of the action, I think, is still going to be on this east side of the map.
I think you're right. I think what we're going to see is Velez so far defending pretty nicely here, losing a Vil, but getting a scout and getting some damage, I think, on some of the others. The gray player is eventually going to have an army that's going to be very uncomfortable for our player in red, Xuanyu, to defend against. Right now, there's nothing guarding the red base, and once you ball up those archers and start sending them forward, that could be a real problem. For now, the pressure stays on the Max, and if the Max can hold, Velez should be pretty nicely ahead in the mid-game to try to do some damage.
Yeah, I always, like, whenever I go for scouts and then my opponent goes for archers, I always feel so uncomfortable whenever the archer numbers start to grow and they get fletching, because I'm like, oh god, I need to, like, not die here. So we'll have to see if Xuanyu can do that as well, as we do have another tower coming up on the back wood line of the Max, though.
Yeah, it's a great tower. Max is going to try to transition villagers over to a new woodline. He was actually going to drop what he thought was a prophylactic tower on that wood line. Right as his opponent's tower finished, he realized, okay, that wood line is pretty much GG for the moment. So Max continues to run around the map and build new lumber camps and hide from his opponent's damage. In the meantime, Velez, on the way to Wheelbarrow, is pushing out of his base with fletching in. It looks like about 10 archers rolling forward for the player in gray. His opponent in red is going to try to get in a group of scouts into the back of his eco, and he may succeed in doing that. There's only one spear here defending, so Xuanyu might put down some damage, but the damage from Velez could be more. We'll see.
Yeah, these archers do have the fletching upgrade. We do have Xuanyu, the first player to click up to the castle age by what will probably be a fair amount. And he's just got to hang on, wait for these knights to come out. But he looks pretty set at home. He's got 2 villagers on the stone, very comfortable in the back. Woodline's fairly safe as well. He may lose a couple villagers, especially if these archers choose to camp underneath the tower, but looks like Velez will not be doing that.
Yeah, Velez going over to that left side, grabbing a villager on the wood line. The red player is still roaming around with his scouts in the north, but Velez has kind of repopulated that hill now with archers, so it's a much less fun engagement for our player Xuanyu. He's got bloodlines in, so those are kind of beefy scouts, but they are going to have trouble landing damage. Like you said, it's a little hard in this situation. If you don't land a lot of damage with the scouts, your opponent is going to go from archers to crossbows soon, and we are going to see the great player with 21 military be a bit of a buzzsaw, but he does need his teammate to be alive if he's going to have a good chance, if they're going to have a good chance to put this series away.
Yeah, I do think that this is the best that the Ares A team has looked so far this series. The other games weren't all that close, but definitely this is very even, if not a slight advantage to the Chinese team here, as we just have Xuanyu hitting the castle age right now and is able to be pumping out those knights. The Max still quite a ways away from that castle age himself.
Yeah, it's a very good point. This is their opportunity to grab a win, and like Zach said in the intro, obviously it's a must-win game for Ares, but if Ares can win this game and the next game, they can actually take this qualifying series. So the Finns definitely need to have a good showing here. I think the Max is putting up a pretty solid defense, but certainly not in a wonderful position. He is working his way up to the castle age. We still have seen the Max really without a military this game, just trying to defend himself. We'll see if he can get this done. Max has a couple vills in no man's land in between his towers, but really he's finding a way to organize the chaos, and maybe he can hold this. In the meantime, Velez is actually pushing in. Do you see that, Ornlu, in Orange's base?
Yes, I do, and that is already, what, 4 dead villagers for our orange player, Black Mamba, and that is really not what you want to be seeing if you're Black Mamba in this situation, because he's so far forward, so aggressive. And yeah, getting in a lot of archers in the back of your base, not going to be the easiest thing to deal with. But then on top of that, it was just like a, caught between a rock and a hard place for Black Mamba's army, losing a ton of archers and men-at-arms between the 2 towers of the Max.
Yeah, it's not going well all of a sudden. This game seems to really have hinged for a moment with Velez getting in with a couple of those archers. Castle Age still coming for the gray player. He's going to try to hide those units until he gets to the Castle Age, but he might get cleaned up. Xuanyu is coming over with a couple of knights, and he may chase those down. For now, it's a bit of a cat-and-mouse game, which is always very fun to watch. But the damage has been done to Orange, and our Orange player is going to have to either A, abuse the market. Oh, well, he's going to have to abuse the market to get up to Castle Age. Right now, he's on 100 food.
Yeah, probably need to use the market at that point. 7 kills for him, 18 deaths. Going to be getting a little bit worse as these archers from Velez try to get what damage they can before eventually dying. But I do have to say that I think the player that is in the single best position this game is Xuanyu or Yinghua. Mm-hmm. He's on 2 TCs quite comfortably. Yes, the Max is as well, but Yinghua's were up faster. He's getting his knight count up and rolling quite comfortably. He has the +1 attack and +2 defense. And I think he's in a pretty good spot, and he needs to be if Ares has any hope of winning this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Their hopes do hinge on the next couple of minutes for the red player to get in some damage. Those knights with bloodlines +1, +2, so they're pretty beefy knights. They're going to roll in pretty easily and start to take some arrow fire from these towers, but I don't think it's going to bother them too much. Always nice to have knights following up a tower push, and in this case, the red player is going to come over, but you know what? Velez is here. Velez showing up to put a fly in the ointment. The gray player with a big group of crossbows, +2 damage is in. He not only kills a couple more villagers from Black Mamba, but he basically zones the red player off from doing too much damage on the front.
Yeah, really doing a nice job of protecting the Max at this point. Since the Max had to deal with all of his opponent's towers, he wasn't as comfortable in getting, a good economy out and getting good knight upgrades and all that. Max currently with no cavalry upgrades. So really sort of relying on his teammate Veles to help him out for the time being. And Max may lose a few villagers here and there, but I think he'll be fine. And if Veles even chooses to push from this angle, this could be a disaster for Black Mamba at this point.
Yeah, Veles is Xing on the front of Black Mamba's base. He's looking to push through those palisades in the front of his opponent's base. Orange might have time to quick wall some of this up, but it looks like actually those crossbows are just going to do damage from distance and grab a couple more vills. Ballistics is on the way for Veles, which is going to add insult to injury to the raiding inside of Black Mamba's base. So things are going very, very poorly for our player in orange. His teammate is doing well, but still not able to click up to the next stage. Still floating a lot of gold, but not having a lot of food in the bank.
Yeah, that's an Ornlu eco if I've ever seen one. It's not one that you need to get up to the castle age in anything close to a reasonable time. Having to also spend so much stone on defensive towers, it's really just sort of gimping his economy in the late feudal, early castle age sort of time of the game.
Yeah, it looks
Although,
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
You do have the potential for some epic Japanese Yasuma towers.
Ooh.
If he ever gets up to the castle age in the castle, I'd be hyped for that.
I think a lot of people would be hyped for that. For now, Black Mamba is grabbing Wheelbarrow, starting to think about maybe getting up to the next stage and joining his teammate in Castle Age. Our player in red, Xuanyu, is up on 59 vills. Veles and the Max are pretty balanced on about 50 villagers each. It's that 40 military of crossbows for Veles, which is kind of the scary thing in this game, especially now that Ballistics is in. It's really difficult to put down damage on those units as they defend. However, we are going to see Red trying to raid in on the Max's front TC. For now, he will grab a villager and get out of dodge. Max has continuously left that area of his base open, and then he's quick walled it a couple of times as Red has tried to poke in. So Max is ready to wall that up and should not get dove in on, but we'll see.
Finally, we do see Black Mamba clicking up to the castle age at 28:54. That is obviously so late. Everyone else has been in the castle age for quite some time now. And, well, now that we have Veles caught up in the villager count to the red player Xuanyu, it's probably not looking so hot for the Ares team, though it looks like have a bit of an engagement going on near the base of Xuanyu with crossbows for Veles under attack from these knights.
Yeah, very big engagement there. The gray player looked like he could hide his units into a smaller patch. There's a little wood line there that his crossbows were near, but he's just standing and fighting, kind of baiting his opponent into sending more knights, I guess. Probably now we will see Veles moving into that little crevice and continues to put down damage. Our player in the red trunks is on 18 military. He does have some beefy knights and a couple camels that I think I saw on the map. Maybe I saw that, maybe I didn't. But anyway, some of those numbers will get thinned out a bit, but not a bad engagement actually for Red there. I think that was okay.
I think that was a fantastic engagement for Red. He has over a 2-to-1 kill-death ratio right now, and the value of crossbowmen is when they're in large mass and can just sort of like one-shot the knights as they charge towards them. But this is the value of the +2 defense, in my opinion, for knights. It just makes such a big difference in engaging crossbowmen, and that's really, I think, what handed the fight win over to Xuanyu at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Veles could have gotten into that little crevice a little faster, but, you know, he did better than I would have done. Ultimately ends up losing the fight, did grab down some knights, but we are seeing a lot of red dots inside of the base of the Max. Those +2 defense knights are starting to roll in and try to put a hurt on the Max. Max has a few knights of his own, not quite as upgraded, and a few monks, so he can probably hold this off. But the red player is going to have an opportunity here to put down some damage.
Yeah, one monk falling for the Max. Looks like his other monk will be able to get a conversion off, but really this has just been Xuanyu just taking it to the other team, just trying to put his carry pants on and give time for Black Mamba to catch up, as Black Mamba is starting to throw down some additional TCs.
Yeah, Mamba has had a little time bought for him by his teammate, so maybe he can get back on his feet and become a factor in this match. I guess we'll find out soon. We do have a couple of camels from the red players sitting inside of his teammate's base, trying to defend things. We are seeing crossbowmen production now from the Japanese player in orange, and a couple of spears to go along with it. So he'll be back and ready for another push here pretty soon. The Finns have definitely stabilized the game, but the Max is still not exactly where he wants to be. He's not exactly booming out of control with no problems, just getting his third TC down. 67 Vils for the max. I think he'll be fine. Go ahead.
Not third TC. That is actually his
fourth
fifth town center.
Fifth?
It's the max. Come on. Only 3 TCs. I mean, he just needs to stabilize, though, because there are a ton of knights coming in from Schweinu, and he doesn't have a whole lot to defend right now. And because Veles's crossbow count was thinned out early on, he doesn't have the largest army, and of course, crossbowmen are such slow units. It's going to be really slow for them to reinforce his teammate.
Yeah, it seems like Ares here is on the right page. They may have recognized the 5 TCs, even though I didn't. And they're making a pretty big push right up into the Max's grill. And Max right now can't defend himself. Veles on the way over. But the Finns are going to have to pull out a little bit of magic here, because there's some pressure in their face.
However, this magic might come in the form of Veles's Imperial Age, which is about halfway done. And Arbalests are really one of those big power spike units in the early Imperial Age. Getting that plus Bracer really just allows you to nuke pretty much every single Castle Age unit. Knights fall so much faster. Mangonels aren't really a problem since you outrange them and deal so much damage. And this may be a problem for the Ares A team in the near future, as we do seem to have a bit of stabilizing going on for the Max right now.
Yeah, and if you're out there cheering for Ares A, which I am, I want to see more matches here today between these two teams. You got to keep in mind that our player in red is still lagging a little bit behind. He's not able to click up yet. He's gone really deep into knights, 102 Vils, 32 military, but it's a ticking clock situation, isn't it, Ornlu? I mean, red needs to get damage in now because, as you said, those arbs are going to be an absolute. They're going to be an absolute problem for him Well, now that the Imperial Age has come in.
In about now. But yeah, as you see, both of the sort of Western players this game, a lot more untouched in their economies than the two Eastern players. Really, the Imperial Age advantage for Veles is going to be so significant because, well, his units don't cost food. Crossbowmen are so much easier to boom with than our knights. You can get your Imperial Age upgrades in so much faster. And now with this castle coming in on the hill for Schweinu, he's probably going to try and make a Chuko new transition, and that might be a huge mistake because he doesn't likely have the time to get that underway.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a precarious couple of minutes if he does try to transition over. He's on the way to Imp, he's on the way out to more stone and thinking about more castles, I suppose. For now, those red knights are still in behind the Max's economy, but not really able to get in too much damage yet. There's a couple units there from Xuanyu and Black Mamba. They're doing some damage here, but still waiting to land the big punch. In the meantime, Veles is not waiting for anything. It looks like the gray player is going to push out with his arbs. Did get a lot of the upgrades. He's also spending a little resource on Scale Mail and Halberdier back at home. So Veles is going to have a bit of a honeypot army, a bit of a death ball, and it's going to be very difficult for Red to hold against the oncoming offensive.
Yeah, Japanese, of course, a very powerful civ in the early Imperial Age with their Arbalests fully upgraded, as well as their really deadly fast-attacking Halberdiers. This could be a big problem for Schweinu, like I was saying, because although the Chinese are going to be much stronger as a civilization as the Imperial Age goes on, it's going to take some time. You really need to spend a lot of resources to get the the full Chuko new transition going, and because the Chinese are capped out at Cavalier, I mean, you're not really able to have the Paladin route, and that's going to be a bit of a problem, I feel, for our Ares A team.
Yeah, Veles has an army, though, that is going to get caught out in a little bit of no man's land. Knights running in for the red player. Veles had about, I don't know, maybe 18 or so arbs, which took a ton of arrow fire as they walked in through Black Mamba's eco. And now they are getting surrounded by knights. So the red player deciding to engage here in the Castle Age to grab down that army from Veles. But in the meantime, Veles is pushing on the left of the red base. It's not a huge and scary army, but as Halbs continue to roll forward and join forces with those couple of arbs, it can be a little bit of a pickle for the red player.
Yeah, Veles a little bit sloppy there with the Arbalests, losing them, I think, pretty unnecessarily. The strength of his army is when it's all grouped up together, as all of his units are not individually quite strong, but with the Halbs doing a ton of damage at the front and the Arbs doing plenty in the back, that is where this army of Veles is going to be the strongest, and I still think he's in a fairly decent spot just because he has so much production.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Veles here is still a scary player. I don't love that engagement or that play, but it is what it is. We'll see if the Finns can continue to try to make a push out of this and try to grab a victory. Max is taking a little bit more damage inside of his eco from Xuanyu, but really nothing too crazy to write home about. We are going to see Cavalier plate barding armor coming for the player in red, so he is going to continue to build some knights. Well, he's got a massive group of knights, so he's going to continue to build a few more, I guess.
Only 52 military for Xuanyu right now, but they're going to be engaging these halberdiers right now, and yes, these knights may win this engagement, but it's going to be a matter of can they win it cost efficiently, and I don't actually think that's happening right now. Japanese halberdiers are so good with their faster attack speed that I think eventually, so long as Velez doesn't get totally swamped, I think he may be able to grind this one out against the Cavaliers.
Yeah, certainly the red player did not want that castle to go up, took the engagement, certainly took a lot of damage because Cavalier wasn't in yet. Now we are seeing those Cavalier, as you said, winning the day. Velez has a chance to pull back here, does need to get out of dodge and have to give up on that castle for a while because this huge group of Cavalier is coming his direction. Blast Furnace on the way for red. Red player is going to get a treb or two even out of this engagement.
Yeah, again, that might have been a little bit overbold of Velez trying to get this forward castle down. It's not gone yet, so could potentially win the fight and then finish the castle in a little bit, but there's already a defensive castle on this hill for Xuanyu. Having these trebs out already, I don't think this castle is going to see completion.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we do have Max and Black Mamba both hitting the Imperial Age. One player is going for Chemistry Ring Archer Armor. We've seen a good number of skirms from the orange player for a little while. That's about all I've seen from him for the last few minutes. I could be wrong. Max on his side is grabbing Cavalier and Bloodlines. Max's military is not huge at 22, but he's going to square off in the same exact problem, that Chinese versus Japanese problem, with potentially some halbs coming his way from the orange player.
Yeah, more and more barracks coming down here for Black Mamba, skirmishers as well. And yeah, really we don't have a great answer to that right now for the Max. The best answer to mass trash units is usually good siege, which the Chinese don't really have. Now we have a ton of Cavalier running into the Max's economy once again, and that's going to be a lot of dead villagers for our Cyan player.
Yeah, it's not going so great. The Max not getting away with his 5 TC booms so easily. He is up to 120 bills, but that town center may not last long. Velez on the way over with a bunch of halbs, but not quite in time to save the TC. Red player gets in some good damage, but I think it's time for him to retreat out and join his teammates' push on the other side. His teammate mostly still with skirms, does have a couple of spearmen in the mix, still lacking some upgrades. But if those two guys work together, if they can keep that fight toward the Max's base, they might get some more momentum. But speaking of momentum, Ornlu, the other side looks like Velez has a pretty hard-to-break army with a couple trebs working on Xuanyu's position.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, yes, we did see Xuanyu winning those fights with the Cavalier against the smaller numbers of Arbalests and Halbs, but it's a matter of, you know, is it cost efficient? These Halbs are so cheap and easy to produce that, you know, it's get 3 of them or whatever for every Cavalier, and this Chukonu transition for Xuanyu is necessary, but it's so slow, and that's the problem for the Chinese in this situation, is that the Arbs and Halbs are much easier to get out, and now with all of these trebuchets here for Velez, that castle doesn't look like it's going to be alive for much longer.
Yeah, that castle is in hot water. Red player is adding in a 3rd castle, which will soon be a 2nd castle, because that one is going down, meaning that Chukonu production will not be that quick, if at all. Red right now is not making any chukes out of the far castle to the right. The red player is on 33 military. He's still got Cavalier roaming around near the Max, but he's got nothing at home. He's got nothing to stop Velez from basically stomping all over his turf back at home.
Yeah, now we have the Max swooping in with his own Cavalier, going to be absolutely annihilating this trebuchet, and, well, he's going to be able to camp the production of Black Mamba right now by the looks of things, and that's just really going to make Black Mamba's push not much of a push anymore.
Yeah, we will see how this game shapes up. Still rolling forward, still kind of cheering for Ares, hoping that they can win and not get eliminated here. Give us a little bit more fun games to watch in this series, but the Finns have stabilized somewhat nicely. Seeing some stone walls coming in now from the Max to keep their side of the map clean. Light cav coming from the red player, maybe all he can, all he wants to afford for now to try to get in maybe some more raiding in the back of these ecos. But while he's raiding, while he's away, Velez continues to creep in now with 5 trebs.
A little bit of a mistake there for Schweinu. He could have denied the wall off for the Max, and he just didn't. Light Cav rather, just running in, only getting 1 in when it could have been like 10. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. But what's also going to be a problem is, like, 35 Halberdiers running into his face. Skirmishers not really going to be as efficient as they need to be. Arbalests are going to be a bit better, but again, it's just not the numbers that the Ares A team needs to win these fights.
Yeah, the Max is using his Cavalier to chase the red player around inside of his base. Xuanyu is still trying to land damage. Has done a pretty good job raiding this game, but the time may be coming to a close for him to actually get something done there. Of course, Velez continues to creep forward. We're going to see more archery ranges now from that player in gray. Still a decent little push there. A little bit thin of an army right now for gray, but he's going to be okay to keep that up. It's kind of a little bit of desperation time here for Ares Ornlu. They're trying to get in some damage in the back with raiding, but if they don't land any damage here, this could be the end of this game.
Yeah, we also have trades starting to be established for the Finnish team. Markets being thrown down right now for the Ares team, but no trade cards for them out on the field just yet. And, well, these castles keep on getting knocked down for Schweinu, and that's going to be a real problem if he ever wants to make Chuko new this game.
Ooh, Schweinu diving into that forward area of Velez's position, able to grab down a couple of trebs and slow down the siege creep. Does lose another castle, does lose some knights in the mix, but the red player may be buying himself a little bit more time to breathe, while Velez still continues to treb away with a couple of trebs in the back.
Yeah, I actually think it would have been a good idea for Velez to invest in the Katapuruto technology for the Japanese. All Yasama jokes aside, the Katapuruto tech is super good, gives you trebuchets just so much more firepower and just damage per second against buildings. But regardless, he'll take down the castles eventually, and we'll get a nice forward castle where one castle of Schweinu used to be.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and yeah, maybe we can see the Ares team find a way out of this situation, but it's a tough spot. I mean, we've got the Max making that Chuk transition that you talked about. We wanted to see Red make it a little earlier. Max is now kind of comfortably making it because he's very, very slowly getting pushed by Orange. I mean, if you can even call it a push, it's basically one treb on that front side, just slowly trebbing away. That's giving the Max plenty of time to get his couple of castles rolling, get a couple of Chuks out. Max still chasing around the red player in the back of the trade, but we are still seeing a little bit of damage coming in from a small group of Cavalier there from Xuanyu. Xuanyu sending some sling to Black Mamba here, Ornlu. You think that's going to be a potential ability for Orange to make a push?
Well, I mean, I think honestly, it should be the other way around. Black Mamba has a larger army. His army is a lot cheaper than Schweinu's. And as we see the Max sort of encroaching upon this deadly Chinese late game of a bunch of Chukonu and potentially like siege rams and stuff like that, Schweinu's not going to have really any castles to sort of keep up in that battle. And once the Chukonus get rolling, there's really nothing the Japanese can do to stop that.
Yeah, Max's Chuks right now are going to have ballistics soon. Some of the upgrades are in for them. The numbers, I can't really tell you exactly, but maybe we've got about 20 Chuks out on the map. Max still with a lot of Cavalier, does have some light cav to go along with this as well. Our player in orange, Black Mamba, has added in siege workshops on the front of his base, and he's added a couple siege workshops in on the front of his teammate's base. Actually, no, those are Xuanyu's siege workshops. Siege rams coming for the red player now, and he's going to try to push back Velez with his teammates' mostly trash army there to help him.
Yeah, the trade count still very low for the Ares A team. Only 6 for Schweinu, only 1 for Black Mamba. Yes, the Max doesn't have many trade cards himself, but Velez is already north of 20, so he is going to be having plenty of gold as this game goes on, as the Max is now just going to be rounding out his Chukonu tech tree, and with all of these walls, the team is pretty safe in terms of ratings. It's pretty hard for the Ares team to break in.
Well, the Finns can smell their ticket to qualification in the ECL. They've just got to find a way to hold on to this match. They're in a nice position score-wise. It would score suggests it's about a 1K score lead. Oh boy, Velez opened up his gate there. I thought that he was going to get dove in on. Sorry, got a little excited. But Halb's coming over from Velez to clean this up. The Finns could punch their ticket here. They just have to hold on, stonewalling, getting trade going, and just playing for the late game where they should be quite okay with their unit composition.
Yeah, I mean, the Max, again, just rounding out his Chukonu tech tree, and the Halbs are just going to melt. The Skirmishers are only going to be so effective. Skirm is not that great against Chukonu, despite being a counter archer unit. Chukonus just do so much damage. It doesn't really matter about the extra pierce armor. So yeah, this is looking pretty dire, I think, for the Ares team.
We will see if Ares can find a way to wiggle out of this position. There's a lot of Elite Skirm in the mix for our orange player, Black Mamba. For now, the Max has not really... He's not really pushed in yet with his Chooks. Max just taken over a little bit more map control, but that newest castle from the Max, Ornlu, on the bottom right of the screen, that's a really wonderful castle, isn't it?
Yeah, I was taking a look at that earlier, and it secures an extra gold spot for the Max, denies his opponent one of his golds, and provides him a hill to start treading away at Black Mamba's castle. So that's a really nice position for him to take, and so long as he can hold on in the front, he should be fine. But unfortunately for him, he just lost the castle in the front of his base. A little sloppy there from the Max. Probably didn't need to lose that since he had a ton of stone in the bank. But let's see if he can hold on here at the front of his base.
Well, Ares is diving in. They smell a little bit of blood. They got to get something done here soon, so they're going to try to get in on the Max. One thing that's not going so great is that Orange is basically trying to kill a stable and a house on the left side using that entire army. Maybe could have done a little bit more damage. May have been able to deny the castle. Who knows? But ultimately, the red player is cleaned up here, and that momentary thought of, oh, wow, the castle's down, let's make a push, it seems to be now an afterthought because the time is gone.
Yeah, interesting guard tower upgrade for the Max. I guess he does have plenty of towers ringing his base, but interesting to see the guard tower. We see it a lot more often these days. A lot of expert players, I especially think of NBL as someone who likes to research guard tower. That's pretty good, as it just does a lot more damage than the watchtower, as obvious as that sounds, but it's pretty useful, I think.
Yeah, it can be very useful on that particular situation as well, just trying to run a little interference while you get that castle up. The Chukonu number for the Max continues to increase. The upgrades on those units continue to come in. Max is eventually going to have a bit of a death ball army, but he still doesn't yet have a real push going versus opponent. It's just a small, slow, and steady kind of hold the line. On the left side of things, the gray player does have continued momentum. Onager upgrade is in. Elite Skirmisher and Halb with a bunch of siege behind it seems to be the order of the day for Veles. And I don't see a lot of good opportunities for the red player Xuanyu to push this back.
Well, yeah, he has only 22 military right now, and that is just not what you need. It's just dropping even fast. Like, Black Mamba's up at around 90. You know, the Max and Veles combined are about at 120, and this is, I think, just... Where is Xuanyu's army? He doesn't have one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a really tough time for the red player who's got some light cav, but light cav don't really solve too many problems here. It looks like he will get a treb with those light cav, but ultimately there are a lot of halbs roaming around, and these light cav are maybe not necessarily, they don't stand much of a chance to push this, but orange and red are going to try to push together, mostly with trash armies to try to hold on, but that castle for Xuanyu is really close to going down.
Yeah, still missing Cataparuto for Veles. He has siege engineers, that's good. Get Cataparuto. You just delete buildings with your trebuchets. But regardless, looks like big onager shots actually coming in for our gray player Veles, and that might be the sort of straw that broke the camel's back here for the Finnish team.
We shall see if the Finns can punch their ticket, just looking around quickly at the resources. Nothing too crazy to note, except that the Max can build a couple more castles. Everybody's got a little bit of resource in the bank for gold and for food and wood, but the Max may be ready for more castles. Veles starting to add in a couple of samurai, going elite samurai as we speak, and those units could be the exclamation point that finishes off this game, because red and orange just have trash at the moment. They have trash and a couple rams, so samurai here could do really nicely.
Yeah, samurai, very powerful unit in certain situations, and when your opponent is mostly trash units, that's a situation where they're very powerful. They have a very fast attack rate, one of the fastest in the game, and just a big beefy unit that does a lot of damage and doesn't take any bonus damage from the trash units. So I like that choice. Also, they don't cost much gold, so they're very easy to field. And yeah, that's definitely, I think, a very good idea for Veles here.
Samurai are coming in, and we will see the HH come in from Xuanyu, and then the GG. Xuanyu, Black Mamba give the GG, and they technically give the GG for the Ares team, because Suomi, after this win, is now qualified for the ECL. So congratulations to the Finns, a great, great team in the Nations Cup. We'll see them back again at it here for the ECL. Pretty powerful set of matches from the Finns there, Ornlu. They played great this set.
Yeah, I think this game was the closest of the games. The 4v4 was okay as well, but really I think it's just the Finnish team showing their class, their teamwork, and their defensive capabilities, and they just become like exponentially more powerful as the games get longer, it seems. Just such a great late game team.
Yeah, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in this tournament. I got my eyes on them. Really nice set of matches. Was extremely fun to do them with you, Mr. Ornlu, and I guess we should pull in the man himself, the man behind the camera. Any final thoughts on this one, Zach?
Hey, yeah, thanks a lot. I really enjoyed watching that one with you guys. And honestly, I have to say, Chinese-Japanese 2v2 has got to be one of the nicest matches you can have. The power spikes that the two civs get are totally offset. Like the Japanese open with like militia man-at-arms for really early aggression. Then the Chinese come out with scouts after they've cleaned that up and have the upper hand versus archers. And then when they get up to the castle age, the Japanese players generally massing up the crossbows while the Chinese players going for the knights. And the Chinese player going for more knights so they can do eco damage, but the Japanese player saving on economy by going for the crossbow gets to Imperial faster. They then get the power spike against the knights with the faster upgrades with Arbalest and Halberdier. The knights become Cavalier, they can start raiding, and then the Chinese finally transition into Chuko Nu to counter the army of the Japanese. It's like so back and forth, and then you double that up in 2v2, and it's just awesome. So that was an amazing game. Really enjoyed that, and obviously Suomi quite dominant in this qualification so far, but they make it through, and RSA going to be a little disappointed. It's a team of great players, but Suomi just, wiped the floor with them today.
Yeah, very well put. Go ahead, Ornlu.
I was just going to say, yeah, definitely, though I do think Shuainu/Yinghua is now playing with SY again, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. Yes. So
he'll be in the tournament.
Yeah, he will be in the tournament. He's joined up with SY, and I think they did that because kind of realized that. I think originally he said that he wasn't going to play much, and then he said, "Actually, guys, I am going to play." And they were like, "Oh, well, welcome to SY, please. We want
welcome back."
Yeah, welcome back. But yeah, Red, for me, that game, Red was the MVP. I think he played phenomenally well. And I think Stray Dog let him down a little bit. I think he went a bit too far with the tower aggression. And as you said, he gimped himself trying to get to the castle age, and they were at a disadvantage at that point. But even then, Yinghua was going around the map making stuff happen, raiding, defending, everything. He was everywhere.
Yeah, well put, Zach. Good way to finish this one off. I'm just quickly looking through the achievements, but we saw that game back and forth. We saw the unit choices really seem to be winning the day, and as you said, Black Mamba's overextension on the towers might have been critical to his team's chance to win. Ultimately, Finland gets the win, but man, that was a really great series. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to try and see if I can